Adepticon, stuff happened. So since we're trying to get people to follow us on the live stream, the first couple we're going to give away to everybody that gets a successful question read off from Twitch in the live stream. You are eligible to win a white dwarf at the end of the show, and that should be pretty cool. And then, the next couple shows, well, not couple shows, but the next couple months if we get other ones, then we'll maybe do Twitch or switch to Facebook, email or Twitter or iTunes, seeing how that goes. So stay tuned, save your questions up. You can even type them in now if you have to go to bed, and we go back through the chat and read them out. So
that's true. We do get some listeners from overseas to join us live, so it's definitely legit.
Yeah. So we'll ship it out to you, no problem, no matter where you are. So we're gonna get on to our hobby progress. Now I've been away, and Darren has been spamming the internet with his hobby progress. So I'll start with you.
Apparently, yeah. Let's see. I've been up to a little bit. Finished my Leviathan. Which is super awesome. I don't know. I have a thing for Forge World models.
Yeah,
Leviathan, Dreadnought. The Dreadnought.
You can keep Forge World in business.
I was like, should I buy a Thunderhawk or?
Well, you were spamming me at the con, man. You're like, pick me
oh
up
yeah, there we go.
They didn't have sale, and because I play against you regularly, I didn't want you to have sale, so I just said that they were sold out, so you don't have sale.
Well, you'll have to face the wrath of the colossal squig.
Nice.
I actually painted and finished my Mastodon.
Oh, that looks super nice, too.
Cool.
I like the black, man. I dig the black.
Yeah, and I actually ended up doing that by hand because I hadn't figured out the airbrush yet, so it took me a little bit. But some clever use of tape and spray cans helped a lot. I built Gilliman, Cypher, and Voldus, and they sit on my shelf at the moment. I don't think I'm going to paint Gilliman. It just looks like too difficult.
It's a pretty intricate model,
Yeah, I think the best thing to do would be to base coat in blue. Then you pick out all the trim with gold and nail it with a black wash or a blue wash even. And then you could just highlight at your leisure after that.
So Duncan does it the other way. He paints it all gold and then he fills the blue. I'm like, God, that must be hard.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he could. I'm just not a good enough painter to paint the recesses, so I start in to out.
Yeah, that's how I usually do it. I built 10 Blood Claws. I need Blood Claws for my Mastodon list, so I built them. I don't know if I'm ever going to paint them, but then I fixed Nick's airbrush. It was clogged like...
Yeah,
like
Nick
an old
did not
man's
take
bowel.
good care of that thing.
It took me about 45 minutes to clear that thing in its shiny metal, and at first I thought that this airbrush really sucks, right? Oh, and then I cleared it out, and I'm like, whoa, this is really good.
I'll tell you what. So now that you've done that once, so I've got a couple airbrushes as well, and it's like. I imagine it's like when you join the military and you have to field strip a gun for the first time. It takes you forever. I can rip this thing apart, clean it, and have it back together in under 2 minutes now, and it works like new.
So now I know how to do it. It doesn't seem that hard, but I had to watch a YouTube video, and I didn't want to wreck his airbrush because it's his technically. So, but I used it to do the stencils on the Mastodon. That turned out pretty good.
Nice.
I've based and coated 60 zombies out of 80 from Mantic. They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool models, actually. Yeah,
they're all like one piece, right? Like they're one piece. They're not.
They're two pieces, but you can just play them as one piece, and then you get more zombies. Some of them are just like stumps of spines, so it's pretty cool.
They are a variety of poses, though, right? It's like 8 or 10 different poses, I think.
There's 12 interchangeable parts, and so you can make 12, whatever that math is. But the GW zombies are just a little bit too cartoony. They kind of look like somebody drew them on the back of a comic. I didn't like those.
That kit has been updated in almost 20 years too.
Yeah, plus you get you still get square bases, which sucks, and you get twice the number from Mantic. So I've been gathering Gene Stealers. I now have 20 with 15.
Gross. Throw them out. Okay, nobody sell Gene Stealers to Darren, please. Do me this favor.
If he asks you for Gene Stealers,
I don't want it to happen.
Douse them in lighter fluid and burn them.
That's 30 out of 90 now I've got, so it's coming along. AOS wise, I've been gathering Destruction as my next army as well. As people know, I bought Andrew's Nurgle army, which is probably about 2,000 points already, but he's painting a Glutkin for me, and I've got some Blight Kings as well. So That's gonna be full fledged. I'm painting a corpse cart, and for the people who are watching this on Twitch, hot tip: don't put this together before you paint it.
I put mine together and painted it, both of them.
Literally, this is the most crazy thing to paint glued together. I usually just glue everything and paint it together, but not this. I mean, these spikes alone are going to injure you when you're trying to paint this thing. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so I'm trying to work my way through that. And I guess hobby progress, I am interviewing for On The Vox Andrew Standiford tomorrow night. He is the guy who won the AOS tournament for LVO. So he's going to be interviewed tomorrow. His interview will come out probably in the next week or two. And then I'll be interviewing Dan Platt, sometime in the next couple of weeks to get some Canadian content on the podcast. So.
As opposed to the rest of us.
I couldn't interview Chris.
We don't count.
Yeah, nobody wants to interview Chris.
No, nobody cares what I have to say. Anyway, go on to you, Logan. Any progress?
Yeah, so I've been working on getting my army up to snuff for CanHammer team tournaments. Since I didn't go to Adepticon, LVO is my big trip this year. So been doing some hobbying, as I said, cleaning out the airbrush, getting all that going. So actually, let's talk about hobby mistakes. So I have a white spray right here. This is the Army Painter white, and the matte white, and it's great. It's pure white. So I bought the GW Corax white because this it's pretty thick. It goes on a little rough. So I bought the GW Corax white, thinking, hey, it's a white spray, just like the old white spray.
White is white. Nope.
No, it's like light blue. It's not white in the slightest. So I go through, spray my Sky Rays. I got 2 of them here. Spray them, and I go through with whatever the white is. What's this one here? Ceramite white to do touch-ups after I do some line work. And sure enough, 2 totally different colors. So I have to pull out the airbrush, blast the whole thing. So I went through, did some weathering afterwards. So these are my Sky Rays now. They look a bit like this. So it's not picking up too well on the camera because they're white. But I also went through and matte coated them for the first time. And I used the Badger flat coat. And it made absolutely no difference as far as I can tell, which is really weird. I know it's not going to do too much on white, but nothing else really changed on it. The weathering got cleared up a little bit, which makes it look a little better, but was not as drastic a change as I thought. So I may try with the GW matte varnish that I have, but probably not till after CanHammer Team Tournament because I don't want to repaint these things again before next week.
Yeah, the best dull coat that I've ever used and that you actually notice, like it actually smooths out your layers, is the Tester's dull coat.
Yeah, I've heard the Tester's one is really good, both
It's
the
the
spray
best.
and the paint-on one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to make sure your model's like dry.
Yeah, that's the
Couple
other
days
thing. It's
dry.
been really wet here, and the temperature's been bouncing all over the place, so I can't go out in my garage to do this stuff, so I just used the airbrush for it.
Yeah. So I guess on to me. I finished some hobby. So if you were watching me, I was painting in the car, Stormcast Eternals, on the way to Adepticon, painting until 3 a.m. I got made fun of a lot because I told people, paint your models before the tournament. I just couldn't do it. I got kids. So I actually finished up my last 2 units adjudicators and my prosecutors. I finished them up as well. For Eldar, I finished up 9 jet bikes, 3 Dark Reapers, a Farseer, and that was about it. It took me a long time to get those done, plus all the other bits and bobs for the tournament. So that's an update that. So I should be off the Eldar painting and playing for the foreseeable future, which is kind of nice because this was the last hoorah with Eldar. For
I
a
call
very long time.
bullshit. I call bullshit.
Well, I went like 6 months without any Eldar painting because a lot of people are like, "You've been painting Eldar bikes for like 2 years," and I was like, "Yeah, it's what happens when you run like a team and you got to supply 4,000 points." Will supplied 9, which helped me out a little bit. I could have painted 9 more because I have them here, but I didn't. Just because Will could supply them, I said, "Well, that just saves me a bunch of headaches."
Yep.
So quite a bit of hobby progress. So we'll move on to news and new releases. For AOS, there hasn't been a lot of news and new releases. We have the Caradron Overlords. They've been fleshed out a little bit more in the releases. There's 3. What do you mean? What are you shaking your head at?
Oh, no. Do your news. We'll talk about them in a second.
So they've been fleshed out a little bit with more pictures. They have 3 different types of airships. It's been confirmed that they are transports. So that should be maybe not the only... I think it's like the only transport in the game. So it's a new style of mechanic, which should be really kind of interesting. I know a lot of people are super excited for these guys. So...
Yeah, looks good.
I hate
I'm not
them.
gonna buy them,
What's your
but
take
looks
on
good.
them, Logan?
I
'Cause
hate
you
them
weren't here.
so much.
Why? Why?
AOS
Hate
was
everything.
just getting me in. I hate steampunk. Like I hate it with a
That
passion.
makes sense. A lot of people do hate steampunk.
Yeah, like if,
But-
I don't know. Like I'm a high fantasy guy. That's what got me into fantasy in the first place. Like I've been playing D&D for what, like 20 years now. But yeah, no, I just like high fantasy. They just rubbed me the wrong way. That's all. But that's interesting to talk about the transport rules. So we'll touch on that when we talk about some of the stuff from Adepticon.
Okay. Next, we have Warhammer Community is taking over War Scroll Builder. So, at Adepticon, I guess we get into the Adepticon news now. So we save it for the end section. We don't have to save it for that. They are taking over War Scroll Builder. So GW is. They had the guy that runs War Scroll Builder. Bless him, I can't remember his name. At Adepticon, and I'm not sure what that means. Are they keeping the website, but GW owns it? I thought that the app would kind of replace it. So maybe he's on the app team updating info. I'm not 100% sure on the details, but I know that they aren't basically leaving it out to dry. They are going to fix it up and take control. So
yeah, I wonder if they're, because obviously the app gives you an offline way of building stuff. I wonder if they're going to end up syncing the two, because it seems weird that they have these two different ways of building AOS armies, right? So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that. I suspect they're going to move it, or to their own website. But
That's
yeah.
interesting. I wonder what's going to happen with Battlescribe then.
I don't know.
why? What do you mean they don't own Battlescribe?
No. But they didn't own War Scroll Builder either, right? So it's interesting if they're gonna. I mean, I guess Battlescribe's a platform rather than an individual service. But if GW does this for 40K, it would be absolutely fantastic.
Well, I think they might. It's just too difficult to do it right now, probably.
Oh yeah,
but,
it's a cluster right now.
if they end up kind of streamlining things, it might be possible.
Yeah.
Well, so when you go into 40K news, we're kind of segueing. They are AOSing 40K, and I'm using that term just to generic. They're not really AOSing 40K. Like, let's face it.
Yeah, they're not. So this was actually something that I bitched about on Facebook, and well, you guys know me, I bitch a lot. There appears to be anyway a rules overhaul coming, and my theory on this is basically they're going to AOSify the rules, which I think. I mean, at this point, absolutely nobody can argue the rules in AOS are much cleaner than they are in 40K. So I think that's a great thing. But I guess it's important to note that when we say AOSing, they're not killing the setting like they did with fantasy. So
yeah, not from a theme and fluff point of view. What I mean by AOSing is I mean app, army builder, free rules, pay for formations, pay for books. Things like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because, you're driving in a car and you're like, I want to know what an Eldar Jet Bike does. Well, okay, it's in my app. I can play this game.
Not while driving.
I know, not while driving, of course, if you're a passenger. Also, the rules, to me, need to be simplified. And I know a lot of people say, well, if you simplify the rules, you make the war scrolls more complicated. And you're 100% right. But when I show up to a table, if my rule book is 4 or 6 pages long, and then we have 10 war scrolls each, we really only have 24 pages of rules to worry about. Whereas when you show up to a table in 40K now, you have like 80 pages of rule book, plus your codex books, and you don't really, there's no like demarcation point. Like what I found with AOSing is that I can give when my brother played his first tournament, we printed off the 5 war scrolls for his army, and he just laid them on the table. He didn't need to flip through a book, or it was.
And they're making cards now. They're
making cards with your reference, which is really awesome. And I'm assuming they're going to do all this for 40K. Now, they have mentioned, they must be. The app's probably ready to go, tested, all that good stuff. Now, they have been saying, do not buy codex books or army books for 40K. Even these Gathering Storm campaigns, they are probably going to become replaced, just like in the end times. So, if you're buying them, you're buying them for the read, you're buying them for the temporary rules, for the fun, because you want to collect them on your shelf. But if you're just like buying for the hell of buying it for tournament, I would say don't.
You can find the rules easily enough. Battlescribe's a great example, right? For most of these, you don't actually need the rules these days with how available they are, and that's not encouraging piracy of it necessarily, but just like the stuff's accessible. You don't need to spend $60 on it. The rules come in the box. Yeah, that's true.
Some of them do.
For like the Triumvirate and everything. But I mean, I'm looking forward to them, and we'll talk about this more later, but I'm looking forward to them simplifying the rules. It does need to happen. I hope they can do a fair bit of cleanup. If they take over list building, that would be awesome. It would hopefully take care of a lot of things. especially if they then move to sort of a one source for the rules, being the online distribution like they have been with AOS, because there's been ongoing issues with 40k rules where you'll have the printed version will conflict with the EPUB version, will conflict with the iPad version. Which is right? Which do we use for tournaments? Will GW ever FAQ it? Will ITC do it this way? ETC does it this way. Community Comp does it this way. Nova does it this, so on and so forth.
So I don't want to talk about it later, Logan. I want you to get into it now, if you don't mind.
Okay.
What you were about to say.
So I forgot what I was about to say.
Just about the new rules or something like that.
Okay, so the information that's come out for the new rules is that armor save modifications are coming back, and this is something we haven't seen in almost 20 years. I am a huge fan of this because this was a great thing in fantasy. It made strength actually matter. Now, they haven't said whether it's happening with strength or if it's just weapon AP values are being modified or if it's a rend mechanic. Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be a rend. And this is what I was talking about actually earlier when you mentioned that the Kharadron Overlords have a transport. Is if there's a precedent for rules for that in AOS now, I suspect it's going to be exactly the same thing in 40k. So it's going to be cool to see how those go, because I think that's going to give us a glimpse of it. Because all the information that's come out so far does lend itself very heavily to being AOS-style rules. The only exception to that, for what they've said, which again is very limited, it's like 5 points on a PowerPoint slide, is that the other thing they're changing is when you charge, you go first, always. So
that's the only thing that I was like, because I remember that, and I was like,
yeah.
But if Overwatch is still a thing and it's really good, that actually makes sense, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, it does. I mean, the guys are busy shooting at you or something. It's going to be interesting, as long as they don't have like an always strikes first mechanic that comes across and cancels each other out and just gets all ridiculous. But at the same time, I have like acid flashbacks to when that was a thing in fantasy, and it really sucked. The charging and always going first, because that was also
only sucked because you had to take casualties engaged with the enemy.
Exactly.
But if you could take the casualties from the back, like in AOS, I don't think it's going to suck.
Yeah, it won't matter as much. It's going to be really interesting though, because I think that mechanic in particular, just on its own, is really going to usher back in those close combat armies. And people complain about Death Stars and stuff, which are close combat based, and sure, that's absolutely legitimate. But I think this is going to start bringing back stuff like Corn Berserkers and whatnot. I think it's a good opportunity for those.
And I suspect they're going to fix the allies business, so we'll see less Death Stars.
Yeah, so I think fix may be a strong word. My suspicion is this is pure conjecture. That's my disclaimer on this. My suspicion is that they are going to go almost 100% to AOS-style rules for this. They're going to take a Privateer Press Warma Hordes approach, where the two systems will not necessarily be the same game, but where the rules are almost identical between them, which makes the barrier to entry for both systems very, very low. And perhaps in 5-10 years, as the storylines evolve, we're going to see something that meets up for it.
Because don't say that. That hurt my brain.
We all know that Sigmar is the emperor. But
that hurt me so badly when you just said, I don't want the two games to meet at all, man.
I don't want them to do that either. But it gives them the opportunity to do that, right? It gives them that out if they ever want to do it. Plus, it means that their rules writers only have to worry about one overarching system for it. And AOS has good shooting rules. It has solid combat rules, it has solid shooting rules, has solid movement rules. So there's no explicit reason for those to be different. Because they can shove all those rules onto the individual war scrolls or data slates, it gives them this opportunity to have a very simple underlying rule system and bring all the complexity in for the individual units. Which is sort of partially what's happened in 7th, but in 7th it's turned into its own awful monster.
It's not awful. 7th is great.
I love 7th.
Right now, 7th is great. I'm ready for a new edition. To be honest, I love 7th. I love it right now, but I'm ready for a new edition.
I'm with you as well.
The problem is they have the rules that everybody has, and then they have their own rules as well. Yeah. So they have as much complexity as the AOS War Scrolls, but then they have all these other rules as well. So
yeah, exactly. 40k is the worst of both worlds in that respect. And yeah, to Chris, as Chris said, I absolutely love 7th edition. This is my favorite 40k I've ever played, and I've been playing this on and off for 15-16 years now. It's fantastic, but I agree, it does need an overhaul. There does need to be a simplification for it. There does need to be some optimization, I guess we can say, of the flow of the game.
Well, there's one reason. There's one reason that 40K needs to be fixed. I'm sorry to cut you off there.
No, go for it.
The reason is, so with Age of Sigmar, and I just went through this, we'll talk about, I can bring somebody to an Age of Sigmar event that's never played, and by game 3, they're actually playing and contributing tactically, or game 1, if they're an advanced gamer. But you need, in 40K, I honestly can't convince or bring new people in, because there's just too much complexity to it. No. And I know that, like, I've been playing like something like 18 years now, or something crazy. So it's like nothing for me to just keep going. But like all these new guys that come in just can't seem to grasp it. It takes them so long that they get frustrated before they become active members of the community.
Well, yeah, there's a great example in 40K right now. Building a list is like one of the hardest parts of the game if you are new to this game. Yep. So I've got a buddy of mine who's been on our YouTube channel before, Andrew. He's starting a Tau collection, and he must have like 1,500 points of Tau or something at this point.
Yeah, your friends always play Tau.
They do. I have a herd of cheesemongers, but that's his thing. He plays Tau, but he's still having a hard time with list building and keeping the rules straight and whatnot. And he's a hardcore Magic the Gathering player. Like, he knows how important list construction is for this kind of stuff. But 40K's just got so many ins and outs for this kind of stuff, and so many rules and so many different books, that it's really tough to line those things up, right? And in AOS, the other thing is, you need whatever it is, a lore, a hero, and two or three battle line, whatever it might be, which is like 40K used to be, right? Like, nobody could screw up making a list in 6th edition, right? Until formations came out. And likewise in Age of Sigmar, if you have a formation, it's very specific for what you need, and then you've got your hero and your battle line units. So I think that's going to be a really big thing for it. That'll be great for removing the barrier to entry for it, because right now it's like the learning curve for 40K is like a flat line. For you're collecting, you're painting, stuff is cool, and you're playing casual games. It doesn't matter. You put your Avenger Mega Bolter on a Helldrake, if you've seen that chat, and then you get into competitive play, and it's like a cliff, right? Same idea as War Machine, except most of that cliff is just getting lists and understanding the rules. Then you've still got a steep slope after that for actually learning the game and everything else. Whereas if you go into a system like Age of Sigmar, where you only need to know what you have and what your opponent has in their army, and 4 pages of rules and 20 pages of FAQ, the curve is a lot more gradual, right? It's still incredibly advanced at the high end, but it's not a cliff. It's a curve that gets steeper as it goes on. There's a math.
It's like when people ask me, so I want to play X army in 40K. What books do I need to buy? I'm like, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And they're like, and they just give me this look, right? And they're the same thing for AOS. They're like, what do you need? You need this 4 pages, which is in the back of every book.
It's on the app. I just
this battle tome, if you want it.
Yeah.
And I tell people not to. I tell new people not to spend money on books. I know not to fuss with GW. Just download the app, cycle through it, read what stuff does, come over, borrow an army, play a game. Now when you read the stuff again, you'll understand what it all does, and then you're good to go. You can pick what you like based on aesthetics and off rules.
Yep, it's super awesome.
So that's enough on the new 40K. Is there anything left to add, or are we good?
Death Guard.
Death Guard. Yeah, so this we were going to talk about this. So in the reveal at Adepticon, they talked about having Death Guard. So Death Guard is going to be its own faction now. It's probably going to be the next book that gets released. Hopefully that book is our segue into 8th, or is the first book of 8th, because it sounds like it's coming really soon, like May timeframe.
I think it. I interpret it as being the next step in the campaign.
Okay. Well,
that's me personally.
Either way, we're going to have Death Guard as a faction, and the spoiler for it is what looks like a scythe, so it's probably Mortarion coming back, which is going to be awesome.
I hope so.
I love my Death Guard.
He's basically a demon prince in the warp, so there's no reason why he couldn't come back and be awesome, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if he's going to be as big as Magnus, with like a giant, massive scythe.
He'll probably be...
I think he's going to be like Girly Man-sized.
Yeah, Girly Man-sized, nice scythe.
Well, if he's a demon prince, he should be as big as Magnus.
That would be pretty awesome if he is.
Demon Primarch, but Magnus is always kind of big, no?
I don't. From reading the fluff, he doesn't seem any bigger than any of the other Primarchs. But if they make a giant, like, Grim Reaper style model, I'm buying that for my Death Army in AOS.
Yeah.
So actually, there's one thing, just to jump back on this for one quick second. One of the big things that's been a roadblock to 40K is sort of game size and the cost to get into it. And AOS is also painfully expensive, but AOS is playable at low points and is competitive at low points. Like, you can play a 1,000-point game of AOS and have a really, really good time and have a good competitive game. You can't do that so much with 40k. So if they're able to take that out, it's going to be perfect. You buy your Start Collecting box and like one other box, $150. You've got an army you can go to an event with. That would be perfect.
Well, AOS is definitely cheaper than 40k. I'd say 50% for most of the armies.
Honestly, I think they're almost exactly
model is on average 200 to 400 points. So you have a couple
it's the
big
battle
things.
line. It's the battle line that's a murder in AOS though. Like I've been pricing out a Nurgle army. Just what's the formation? Taliban, and that's still like a $700 army. Like, it's not cheap.
Yeah, if you're taking like 90 plague bearers, I could see it. The Fire Slayer's infantry spam is very pricey as well. Yeah, but
like some armies are cheap, just like they are in 40k. Maybe on average is a little cheaper, but then I look at stuff like the Dryad lists or, God forbid, the Chaos stuff with the Knights and whatnot. It gets really pricey really fast.
Yeah,
but
I think cost-wise it is what it is.
At the same time, I would gladly play a 1,000-point game of Age of Sigmar before I'd play 1,000 points of 40k.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You don't even notice. To be honest, you don't even notice the difference. And then 40k you do. Yeah. You drop 300 points. You go to 1,500 from 1850 and you notice. It's a different meta, a different game.
Yep.
And you have to redo your list from scratch because half your combos don't work.
Yep.
So I'm really excited. So, and Mortarion's going to be really awesome. I'm excited for him as well. I'm hoping that we get more Primarchs, but the sad part is most of the loyalist ones are like dead. So, well, at least a couple of them are. So
I got a buddy of mine who's a Dark Angels player, and every time a new 40k release has come out for the past 3 years, he's messaged me asking if Lionel Johnson is coming back yet.
I would buy them. I have a huge Dark Angels collection. They're so awesome. Cool. Next one is the Blood Bowl. They've been releasing new figures for that. You got Trolls. They look fantastic. Buy them. Cool. So we'll go on to Event Spotlight. CCBB registration is open. We have The Hobbit, Warhammer 40k, and Age of Sigmar as well. We have doubles and singles. Lunch is provided all 3 days. This is going to be in the end of August. You can go to capitalcitybloodbath.blogspot.ca for more information.
capitalcitybloodbath.com, in fact.
.com. It's all linked on CanHammer.ca. So you go to CanHammer.ca, you'll see a link to all our events. The Capital City Bloodbath Reg is open. We're hoping to sell out and have an ITC major on that one. We also still have tickets available for Age of Sigmar Day of Blood, which is our May 20th 2,000-point General Handbook 1.0 tournament that's coming up. We would like to switch to General Handbook 2.0 points, but they're just a little bit too not new. Like untested or raw.
They need some more burn-in time.
They need some official release because right now it's just in War Scroll Builder, so that's official now. But after the South Coast GT, which I believe is soon, those should go official, and then we might switch. So anybody listening out there, we might switch to the new points. We might not. But for now, it's General Handbook 1.0. Anything else for events from you guys?
Don't think so. I think that's really everything that's coming up around here in the near future, other than CHTT, but we're going to have a whole bunch of coverage for that, and it is very sold out. So we'll take care of that later on.
So stay tuned.
Away.
Yeah. So let's chat about recent games. Not for you, Chris, because we all know what you've been doing. But what have you been playing, Darren?
I was supposed to play you last week, but it got canceled, and I actually haven't had any time. I've been super, super busy with work, and my kid doesn't sleep till like 10 p.m. these days. So, so I haven't actually played any games, which is sad.
NyQuil in her milk. And that'll solve that.
It would not be very tasty. It would work.
Logan, you been playing any games? Getting your cred up, getting your game on.
I've actually been
tight
playing
moving
2 games. Yeah. So I played Kill Team for the very first time, and there's going to be a battle report up on our YouTube channel about that. And Kill Team is a lot of fun. Surprisingly, it's really, really fun. We played the GW rules for it, not the Heralds of Ruin one. They are very similar, however. But yeah, it was great time. I played Chaos Space Marines against my buddy Andrew and his Tau. And yeah, it was a blast. So check out that battle report when it comes up. It's a lot of fun. I do encourage you to play it. It is a really, really good way to get somebody into 40k, because all you need is like a box and a character, and you've got a full list for it. It's only 200 points. Especially if you pick up a start collecting box, you've got everything you need and way more. So very, very cool. And it's,
well, the kill team box itself comes with 2 kill teams, and
Yes,
it's
it
only
does.
$60, and that includes 40k rulebook and the kill team rulebook. It's
I know.
like the world's best deal.
well, there you
So
go.
it's funny that you're talking about this, because I was at Adepticon and I was playing the championship, and I believe it was a listener came up to me and was like, "Man, you like warp spiders? You love Kill Team, because you
Yeah,
will
you
win every single game of Kill Team with your warp spiders and bikes." And I was like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
good to know, man. Thank you."
That-
I assumed so because they're busted, but
Yeah, you would. Yeah, take a unit of scat bikes and a unit of warp spiders. You've got a kill team. So basically, the basis of it is you've got normal units. You have taken 40k normal upgrades, but every model acts completely individually. So it gives you a lot of really interesting opportunities. It's basically like It's the idiot's guide to infinity. Basically, is the best way to put it. I do.
so the Chris guide, because I cannot
Yeah.
handle the complexity of
I-
Infinity, or I
yeah.
don't want to handle. I should say it's too complex for me.
I do feel like you need infinity levels of terrain for a kill team to be super fun. Like we played it with an incredibly dense table, like a full 6x4 level of terrain for a dense 6x4 table, slammed onto 4x4, and it still wasn't enough. So check that out if you're going to play it. But also, I played a game against one of our, actually against our newest patron on patreon.com. That was Jay. Long-time listener, first-time patron. So thank you very much for the support, Jay. Shout-outs to you. Played a game against him with
Should I
my...
let him win next time, or
What's that?
should I let him win next time?
Let him
or-
win next time. Yeah, there you go. I played against him with my Tau list for CanHammer Team Tournament against his new Ravenwing bike and Skyhammer army. So 6
approve
grab
of that
cannons,
choice.
2 multi-meltas, and then a Ravenwing strike force with a Dark Shroud, Librarian command squad, and a whole whack of Black Knights. It was very good. Yeah,
I could
it was a fun
totally
game.
put that army out like right now.
Yeah, you've got everything you need for it. So
got all
check
that.
it. That's also going to be a battle report. Darren's already seen it because he made it. But check that out. That's going to be up on the channel next couple of weeks as well. So that was a fun game. Good learning experience
Yeah,
for both
I'm
of us.
actually. I've got a game against Jay coming up next week. Except that he wants to play my Mastodon with his Chitin.
That's
So
going to be a
that
cool
should be
game.
a fun game.
It's gonna be a cool game.
I'm just gonna ram him and see what happens.
Phrasing.
Awesome. So you guys have been gaming. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I've been gaming as well. So should we get into our main segment?
Let's get into our main segment, Adepticon 2017.
So this is one of my favorite events of the year. Just gonna get that out there. And before these guys are gonna basically Q&A me for it, I'll get into that. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to all the listeners that came and said hi,
Yep.
or the people I played that happened to listen to the show, watch our battle reports, and gave us a lot of love and a lot of support. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. There's too many to name, but thank you so much. It meant a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's really, really cool. And Darren, you'll start getting this as well as you start traveling around. It's very heartwarming and encouraging when we go to events and meet people who listen to the podcast. Even if they, call us cheesy dicks, it's fine. Like, it's really cool to meet people who listen to this and are as involved in the hobby as the rest of us are.
Yeah, it makes you want to do more and better things.
Yeah, it's very
motivating.
encouraging to keep going with this. It's really cool. So thank you, everyone.
So why is Adepticon my favorite event? To answer your question, Darren, Adepticon is big. It has multiple gaming systems. That's what I really love about it, is the fact that I can not always focus on 40K. Some events you go to, they're just 40K and you're 40K all weekend. And I find that I get too much into 40K. It's nice to have like a palate cleanser game. It's nice to have a seminar or walk around. I like checking in a lot of the historicals. My beard is not gray yet, but I really like Saga and things like that. So I like to walk in there, see the really nice terrain. Adepticon is not just a gamers convention. It's a combination of gaming and hobby. So it's usually about a 60-20 to 30 split on painting and gaming, and then they have a sports component. So you tend to not get the really crappy armies that are plastic there to beat face. You get a lot of beautiful displays, a lot of beautiful tables. The terrain there is well above average, and it's wonderful. There's just thousands of gamers. people from all over, and it's just a really fun time. You stay in the hotel that it's run in, so you walk up and down all the time. It's a beautiful hotel, very nice rooms.
The Renaissance
It's
Schaumburg
just,
is fantastic.
yeah, and it's something that I love going back to. I have Adepticon friends that I go to and I maybe spend 10 minutes with, shouting out you, Tom McClure. We shoot the shit. We love to talk to each other. If we ever play each other, we have great games. But you see them once a year for 10 minutes because you're so busy and so much going on. But they're wicked Adepticon friends, and I actually treasure my few minutes with each of them. Like just going and seeing these guys and seeing how they're doing and talking about family.
That's
man, it's great.
heartwarming.
Yeah,
Such a bromance.
but that's why I love Adepticon. It's the people. It's not the event. Well, the event's great, but it's the people there are great.
It's completely true. I mean, I've only been once. I regret not going this year. I think I will be back there next year. It's so cool. Like, it's the kind of event where you can go and you could not play in a single competitive tournament, even as a competitive player, and have an absolute blast. Just doing seminars, hanging out with people, doing open gaming, chatting with vendors, playing demo games. You go over to the Apocalypse side, and you look at the stuff that 13th Legion brings with their giant Emperor Titan, all that stuff. It's an absolute spectacle. It's so cool. So yeah, it's definitely worth going to.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. It's mind blowing. It's so many things. Cool. So that's hopefully that.
Yeah, I was watching. I think it was Mini Wargaming did a walk around of the vendor area, and I was like, I'd never even heard of most of these like games and vendors. Like it reminds me of going to a medical convention. There's all these drug companies trying to sell you shit, right? And so I'm like, this is exactly the same, but for gaming, I would be like at every desk. It's crazy. I think I shouldn't go to Adepticon because it's dangerous.
For you, it would be.
It's really fun to walk around there though, because all of the companies that have games have demo games, and they've got people there to play them. Like I had one day last year when I was there that I had like 2 hobby seminars throughout the day, and that was it. So I was just wandering around and I played demo games all day, and you get all sorts of free swag, but you get to learn and see all this cool stuff that people are doing. So I think I played like a War Machine game. I played Infinity. I played I can't remember the name of it, but it was some pirate game with boats. They were there again this year.
That looked awesome. I saw pictures of that. I'm like, damn.
It's so cool. And then the Crystal Brush setup and the Reaper booth are just fantastic. The Crystal Brush stuff is mind-blowing.
That one where Manfred is like offering a sword to Nagash on the throne. That's so cool.
God. So
amazing. The Crystal Brush. I leave Adepticon, I'm motivated to paint, but I think we should start with the swag bag. So Adepticon is one of the best swag bags in the business.
Yes.
I'm not going to go through everything in it, but I have some of the highlights. War Machine always gives away something really nice, and this year they gave away hardcover books to their new game. The new version of their game. I happen to have a Hordes one here from Adepticon this year. Nice, thick, hardcover.
Wow, that's thick.
Like this is a very expensive $60 US rule book.
Yep.
Retail, and they give it away for free to I think all the attendees that bought a badge of the first 1,000, which is fantastic. You also get a bunch of limited edition Adepticon minis. So because Adepticon is so big, you get really nice Adepticon minis, which is this is my favorite one. It's the Adepticon special from the Alien vs Predator miniatures game. It's an alien
awesome.
From the AVP franchise standing on a skull on a plinth that says Adepticon 2017 on it, and it is absolutely gorgeous.
That's cool.
It's a gorgeous sculpt. And then I was one of the earlier loot bag buyers, but I couldn't get the advanced one, which I always get, where you get the mug and the T-shirt, and you got a GW. It's like the mini Pelican style case this year.
Wow.
Jason got that one.
Wow.
Pretty jealous. But I ended up getting the second tier down, so I did actually get Rune Wars, which is a $100. This is with my swag bag, like $100 board game with a ton of miniatures in it. It's BJ and Triple played it and said it was all right. They just played one game. They said it was like, yeah, pretty good. Like, so I'm excited to crack this bad boy open and see the sculpts on the miniatures.
That's very cool.
It's from Fantasy Flight, so the quality is excellent. But it's a $100 Fantasy Flight board game you got for free.
So for those of us who have been asking on Twitter why we would drive 13 or 14 hours to Adepticon, it's because of all the free shit you get.
Well, even if they didn't give the free shit, I'd go. But it's really awesome. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff, miniatures, tanks, paint, you get business cards. This is the usual stuff. Which is,
I'm like, I should fly there, but then I'm like, well, how am I going to bring all the shit back?
Exactly.
you just bring a half full suitcase. That's what I used to do when I flew.
Nice. Yeah, the swag bags are amazing, and as Chris said, that's like the basic one that everyone gets. The VIG comes with all sorts of extra stuff.
I didn't get it.
It sells out in about 5 minutes.
So I was really livid. Like, it sells out in like 5 minutes. I would have got it because Jason actually started after me and he got his, but my credit card didn't go through. So I ended up having this because I have a US credit card, and then I had to switch to the Canadian one. It screwed me over, and I missed out on it, and I was just super upset. So,
got you credit.
But no, it's not the limit, man. It was just that their system didn't accept it.
Sure.
So where do you guys want to go from there?
So let's talk about the start of the event. So first day was the 40K championships, right, on the Thursday? So
That's what I went. Yeah, I played the championships.
Tell us about that, because you were in that. You actually did pretty well, as I recall. So what?
I didn't do as well as last year, but yeah. So I ran up. We had to rent a Q van this year to get to Adepticon because we went over the top on our team display, and it took up way too much room in the van. We also had 6 people going this year, so my Honda wouldn't fit all the stuff in it, so we had to rent this. And I was piling up all my mail, so I had my team tournament army of Eldar, which was like 5,000 points, because I wanted extras just in case something happened last minute, and we found out that something was banned, whatever. And then I had my Stormcast 2,000 point army, and all of the display board for that, which was huge. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw everything that we did for that. And then I like to do little plaques with all of our name and story on it next to our boards, and I have to bring custom dice for all of our teams and stuff like that, and shirts. And I ran out of space, so I ended up actually leaving my demons at home. So Magnus and his 3 printers stayed at home, so I just went and I played 60 Warp Spiders, and 3 units of bikes, and a Farseer, and an Autarch. So it's pretty funny. So that's
Ynnari?
what I did not take Ynnari. I took Pale Host because I wanted the auto run 6.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that in a second with my why I chose that. I actually chose this army specifically to be a counter Ynnari force. It did fail, spoiler alert, at that job, but it also succeeded. So we'll get into that later, I guess.
Nice. So I guess let's talk about what events you entered. So you did the 40K champs, you did the AOS doubles on the Friday, and the team tournament on Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yeah. So I had it all there. Yeah. So you want to start with the champs?
Let's talk about the champs.
So yeah, I brought my 60 Warp Spiders. Showed up. My first game was against Daniel Price, which was Space Marines. It was a pretty good one. Basically, he made me go first, and then I just kind of, Warp Spiders did what they do, right? And they, against Space Marines, they're quite good because they ran a lot of Strength 6, and I was able to, basically just win that game 29-1 quite handily.
What was he playing, Space Marines?
Yeah, so he was playing just a fairly standard Space Marine army.
Like a Gladius or CAD or what?
No, it wasn't a Gladius. It was a combination of. I actually can't remember very much of it. I can remember all my other lists,
Chris was
but this one I
drinking
can't.
all day.
I wasn't drinking at all. I just. It was just a really quick game, and basically, yeah. So he had a lot of drop pods and stuff, and I just kind of, in the end, I would have got the full 30, but I decided to throw a unit of Warp Spiders out in the open to get an angle on his Centurions, and it didn't work out. So, next player I played was Tony Dawkins, which was Eldar Ynnari, and I loved his style of army. So it was a bunker, and it was several units of 3 Dark Eldar Reaver jet bikes, and of course they had the item that I forget what it's called now, but just the D6 impact hits at Strength 6 rending.
Yeah, cluster.
So he had a lot of those, and then he had just as many bikes with scatter lasers. And so what he would generally do for the most part is you kind of clump them a little bit, and then so the Eldar bikes shoot you, and then if you get too close to shoot the Eldar bikes, when you kill a unit, then his Dark Eldar bikes will charge you and they'll blow you up, right? With their so they're charging you in your shooting phase, which is kind of crazy. And so what I actually did against him is I happened to get to deploy first, so I essentially null deployed, deep struck all my spiders. He put a bunker down because I couldn't kill a bunker because I had all spiders with a unit of rangers in it. And he counter null deployed, and he had a comms relay. And so he was thinking, Autarch comms relay, he could actually delay his, even though he was going first, he could delay his reserves and do the counter hit, right? So what I did is I jumped my 3 spider units up as hard as I could, Didn't do anything, but I just went straight at his end. And then the next turn, I actually took over his comms relay.
And by turn
So-
5, he had nothing on the board.
So I had like just tons on the board. He didn't have his reroll, which was because he would have rerolled any passes.
Yeah.
And then he rolled pretty well on his reserves, and his whole army came in. And then what I was doing is I was using, because I took the Pale Host, I auto ran 6. And so what that allowed me to do was put my spiders so that I could only kill 2 bikes. So it'd be a 3 scat bike pack, and I'd be like, okay, I can only actually kill 2. And I'd be just out of range, so all 5 would just hit 2 bikes, shoot those 2 bikes, kill them, and then I would go to the next one, the Dark Eldar unit, and I'd try to get the angle, the side with the D6 Strength 6 impact hits, kill those. And I just kind of did that, and I picked away his units. And then once I got a few of his units down to 1, I chanced it, killed his Wraith Knight. He got a free charge off on me, which was fine. I forgot to mention I had a Calexis as well. And then whatever. And then my next turn, I just kept doing it. And at the end of the game, he had like 5 jet bikes that were solo, and then I just killed them.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people. The Ynnari stuff, like the counter charge, the counter shooting is incredibly good, but if you've got an equal sized or efficient MSU army that can do that sort of split firing and whittle down those units, you completely negate that bonus, and you sort of turn it against them, right? Because the approach to make Ynnari good is to have all of these expendable units. But if you just ignore the fact that they need those units to die and pick them off, you're left with just the smallest, weakest units. Which is
and
really
they don't
cool.
have OBSEC anymore, so...
Right. Yeah, so it's a great counter. Ynnari is, I should say, a great counter to some of the Tau Monster Mash lists. It's incredibly strong against. But for other super heavy MSU armies, I don't know necessarily, I haven't played this, but I would imagine the Gladius or of course stuff like what you ran is quite good against it.
Yeah, I guess
it's hit or miss. You could do it with like a big, let's say you had a huge Centurion and you're like, I'm going to delete that bike unit. You're better off just only putting 2 in range, and you could probably do it with drop pods or something. You just got to play super cagey and smart. Yeah. And my number one complaint about Ynnari is it slows your game down. My turn 3 and 4 against this guy were painstaking. Like, we finished in plenty of time, no issues, but it was painstaking. Like, I had to be like, I got to go fast, but can you charge me? And I'd be like, I'm out of 12, so you can't charge me. And then I'm out of line of sight. And then my warp spiders, of course, when he would shoot me, I would just jump away. And it was just so much going on. It was such a tactically stimulating game. And it was wonderful. Like, it was like a lot of fun.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, I like your strategy of using out of range to prevent you from killing his whole unit, because otherwise it can be hard to not kill a whole unit, especially if they're not jinking or whatever on purpose.
Yeah, you don't want to get lucky. Yeah. Like, I'd get lucky with 3 6s. I don't want you to freaking charge me.
Yeah.
So I 30-0'd him, which was I was really happy with that because it was Ynnari. Then I played Austin. I've played him before.
Austin Cook?
I forget his last. Yeah, from
one of Max's buddies, right?
No. I don't know if he's Max's.
Renegades player?
Yeah, Renegades.
Okay. Yeah, I think Austin Cook. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a really nice guy, really chill. He played Astra Militarum this time, and so I went up. I gave him first turn, or he took first turn. I null deployed, put 3 inch of spiders on the board. He had thud guns, earth shakers, 2 units of wyverns. He had 2 units of veterans as his troops with all plus cover. And he had the Malkador, which is the Imperial. It's like the Imperial Guard tank that shoots an 18-inch torrent.
Super flamer torrent. One.
And it was like, was it AP2 Poison 2+? So it was terrifying. And so basically, I just took his first round of shooting. I was like, this is gonna be rough. I'm gonna lose like 3 inches of spiders or 2. Hopefully, if I use 3, I just lose. But I really null deployed him and was really fancy with that. So he shot me, and then. He shot me again, basically wiped me out, except for the Calexis, who was on an objective. So I got up on Maelstrom or bonus points immediately. And then all my reserves came in. I did the usual thing. I just kind of went in his grill. So his artillery couldn't shoot me because I was too close to him. And it was a hard-fought game as he killed something like 48 spiders out of 60.
Wow.
But I ended up pulling a pretty decent win just by... Because that's the thing, you have to when you play these armies, it's really easy to defeat yourself early because he literally kills half your army. But it only takes like a 30-year army up close to blow up his because like 4 warp spiders can literally charge one of those artillery units and
kill
win.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I win by 2. Oh, you make your test this time. I win by 1. Oh, you fail your test. Gone. Right.
Yep.
Hit and run out. Charge the other angle, and like because they're fairly large with the artillery, you charge him on a flank, and he's only getting 3 dudes fighting you. So
Yep.
it's pretty cool. So I hunkered down. I was terrified I was going to get 0 points. I fought as hard as I could fight, and I ended up pulling a 26 out of this game,
Nice.
which I was ecstatic with. So 5
Austin
points.
Wingfield.
I don't even know.
Okay. Anyway,
I don't write down last names normally in my book. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I try not to say last names on the show.
fair enough.
So.
It's one
And
of
then-
the Austins.
Well, this next guy, I can say his last name because he's a big deal. Last round, I played Sean Naden with
Mr. Naden.
Yanari Tyranids. A lot of people went, "Oh, Yanari Tyranids." And,
Okay.
He kind of hyped it up that it's such a fluffy army I threw together, but no, it's a brilliant army.
Fluffy.
In what way is that fluffy?
No, not fluffy, but like he plays both armies. So it was like 2 Hive Tyrants. He had the Yin Car in there, the Avatar Girl,
Yep.
and then about as many Spore Mines and things like that as you could fit in the list. And then he had a ton of Warp Spiders and just a ton of like bikes and things like that. And it was a brilliant list. And I didn't catch on to it early enough to really counter him as heavily as maybe I wanted to. So what he would do is these Spore Mines would basically litter the board, and you can't kill them. Because if you kill them, the Yin Karn goes to where they died.
Yes.
So every time he kills one of them, you basically have this Yin Karn that my Warp Spiders can't really hurt. They can hurt it on like 6s, kind of pop around the board and just kill like a unit of Warp Spiders a turn, and there's like nothing I can do about it. Because I can't kill any of his stuff, because if I do, she's there.
Yes.
And if I kill another unit, she charges me. And so what I did is I basically, all my reserves came on. I put all my bikes into her. I couldn't get my spiders too many close to her. I didn't bother. I tried to just take out some other stuff. I did like 2 wounds to her, and I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. And then he just basically tore my army apart. There's nothing I could have done about it. And so I went down 0.
But still not as good as a Wraith Knight, eh?
What do you mean? Her?
The Incarn, yeah.
She's better than a Wraith Knight in every way.
You think so? Because a lot of people are like, I'd still take a Wraith Knight as a Lord of War.
Because a lot of people read her rules and go, oh, she just moves at you and charges, she's going to die. But that's not how you use her, right?
To me, it seems like she's way better than a Wraith Knight because she just goes wherever.
And that's the brilliant part about the Nids is Spore Mines. They blow up.
Yeah. So
he charges you, they blow up, she's right next to you. You charge them or you shoot the Spore Mines, which are garbage. She goes there.
So what makes her so good in close combat? Like, is it all AP2 instant death, or what's going on with her?
Well, against spiders, she has like on the church. I don't know. He buffed her a little bit. She has like 6 or 7 attack. Like she just kills them.
She's got
right?
a lot of attacks. It's about strength 6 or something like that. It's not instant death. It's the other woman who has the instant death sword, but it's enough to wreck things.
It's just enough to do damage. And for spiders, it was enough to kill my Exarchs instantly. Do like 4 or 5.
She's pretty hard to kill, and the other thing is she can warp out of combat with that move that she does.
Yeah. And when my spiders
that's the thing. I remember somebody was telling me about that. Yeah.
And when my spiders die near her or other Eldar die near her, she gets wounds back.
Okay.
And then
but of course, he littered the board
else.
with Spore Mines. So it was like she would come in, she would charge, and he'd usually put in like 1 or 2 other like little units in just to get the extra attacks to wipe them out. And then he would like charge in his Spore Mines, and she would go bang on that side of the board. So you could literally be like, well, my Warp Spiders are over here, kind of beside a building. He would charge his Spore Mines if she was out in the open, and then boom, she's behind the building now. And then if I kill anything in my turn, she's there. And my range is 12 inches, so she's coming really close to me. I looked at him and said, man, this is a brilliant army. I loved it. I loved every minute of him beating me. He tore my army apart in a beautiful, like it was like an orchestra of just death, and it was beautiful. And I was so impressed. So impressed. It was a fantastic way to lose a game. Let's put it that way. I learned a lot.
That's always the best. If you get just like face pounded, but you actually learn something from it, that's always actually worthwhile. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, Sean's pretty enjoyable to play against as well, just in general. So,
yeah, he's a nice guy. Can't complain.
Yeah, excellent.
I've played him 2 or 3 times now. No issues. So
cool. All right. So, how did you finish overall for that? So you went 3-1. What does that put you like 50, 60th, something like that?
It was like 29th.
20. Oh, How many people are in the singles?
200 and something.
Wow, it grew
pretty
a
good.
fair bit since last year, then.
Yeah.
Like 10, 20%.
Yeah, it was pretty
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, I was pretty high. Overall, too, I was a little bit high. I think I was a little bit high. I was around the 29 mark. I didn't write it down or anything.
Nice.
I was very happy with how I finished, just because, Naden, if I drew Naden, right? I felt like that if I wouldn't have drawn that army, I might have done, I might have even made it day 2 because there wasn't a lot that scared me. But his army did for sure. Like, if I would have drawn, like, one of the ones, like, I think it was Garoppolo that went to the final, he might have still beat the crap out of me, but it was like 2 Wraith Knights and a Riptide Wing, and my army was designed to play, because it's 60 spotters, 2 Wraith Knights and a Riptide Wing.
Oh, yeah,
right?
it'll destroy it.
I mean, yeah, and that,
Rip it apart.
and I was banking on that, and I just never got to play it, right? I ended up playing Naden's army, which to me was one of the worst matchups ever, because it had high initiative, tons of more mobility than me, and just too much chaff to deal with. So it was really cool.
Very cool. All right. So day 2. Day 2, you were playing in the Age of Sigmar doubles, and that was 1,000 points per player, and you were playing with Jason Sparks from CanHammer, correct?
Yeah, and so Jason hates Age of Sigmar, and I don't know if I had to twist his arm, but I definitely was like, yo, let's play Age of Sigmar doubles for fun, and he was like, yeah, sure, we'll have a good time, we'll just play for fun, we'll use my Stormcast. And so we set up, he basically took the Hammer Strike Force, 2 units of Retributors, unit of Prosecutors, and then he had a unit of Liberators and Judicators, because I couldn't put 2 units of Judicators for points. And then he had the Knight Celestin, which is basically the guy that gives +1 to hit, bubble, and he throws hammers at people. I like him. He's maybe a Heraldor would be a better choice, but I had him ready to go pretty much. Like, he just needed paint, but he was
Did you have to bring the same alliance?
Nope. Could have brought whatever you wanted.
Okay.
And so we did that. He did that, and then I did 3 inch Adjudicators and the Prime, because I was like, this is what I have painted, and I didn't want to paint a lot. I had enough. Like, I had to finish a few units. I didn't want to go crazy, and I love the Prime, and a lot of people hate it, but I love him. He's so wonderful, and so we took that. It's a pretty good list. I also had Douglas the Griffhound in my list.
That was mentioned on Warhammer TV.
What was this?
Thanks for giving
The
away,
Griffhound.
Darren. Thanks for giving it away.
Sorry.
Just kidding. Yeah, so Douglas the Griffhound.
Is this just a random Griffhound that you had named?
Yeah.
Or?
One Griffhound. His name's Douglas.
It's just one Griffhound.
His friends call him Doug. So first round we end up playing Andrew from Skullbro's Awesome Cast.
Were you guys playing New Book Stormcast, obviously?
Yeah, New Book was the new Stormcast. And he was playing Seraphon with his buddy, I believe it was Paul. Can't remember his name. Sorry, Paul. I think it was Paul. I didn't write down any of the Sigmar stuff because we were going for fun. And so I didn't want to I didn't want to, like, be that guy writing down who my opponent was. I wanted to just, like, relax, have a good day. And so that makes for horrible listening. But we played Seraphon. And it was a tough army. They baited us, because Andrew's a good player. So he baited us. They left a gap behind their army, and they put Saurus and Temple Guard kind of in the back corner. And we were just like, and I'm like, he's baiting me, man. I don't want to take that bait. Then they jumped the Skinks at kind of our objective, and we kind of ringed all of our archers in front of it. And we're just like, okay, maybe, like, he'll come at us. And then when our teleport stuff came in, it was like turn 3. And we decided, like, I told Jason, I said, yo, we can go for a minor win, clear the middle of the board and just ignore their corner, or we can go for the massacre, and it's like a 50-50 shot that we get like 0 points. And so he wanted to go for the massacre, I think, but we discussed it. We ended up going for the minor win guarantee. And Andrew's like, yeah, I was totally baiting you guys back here. Prime came in and killed his old blood on a Carnosaur, 1 round of combat. They kind of screwed up. The Carnosaur was next to a forest, so my Prime was actually able to charge the Carnosaur while staying completely within the forest. So I didn't get to save the first round, but I got it the second round. But there wasn't a second round, spoiler alert. We activated the Prime, and he nuked them. He did his torpedo on them, his comet, killed Stegodon. Jason brought both his Retributors in, killed the, they called it Bulbasaur. What's the solar engine guy, or whatever?
Bastiladon.
Bastiladon, not the one that shoots, right? It's really good. They had 2 of those. He killed that one. They had 1 left.
Bulbasaur.
So yeah, they called them their Bulbasaur.
That's perfect.
And I was like, oh.
That's perfect.
That's what stuck with me. So we ended up winning that game pretty big. We we got a minor win on the primary, and then the secondary and tertiary was secondary was you just pick an objective and you try to achieve it. So we picked one that was like, just get Douglas off the board, and we got Douglas off the board, and we won that one. And then the tertiary, forget what that was, but we got that one too, so it was pretty good. E3 was tertiary in that mission. But anyway, it was a decent win to us. So then we go on next round. We played Disciples of Tzeentch, and the scenario was really wonky. You could deploy anywhere you wanted on the board, but you had to be 9 inches away, and then you couldn't move your first turn. So we decided we just put like Liberators. So we kind of put Liberators down the board just for board control, so that they couldn't put their dudes on our side of the board as much. We put a unit of Protectors on the other objective. We just kind of hold our corner to keep them off. They
you still alternate?
Yeah, you alternate, but we would just be like, okay, this unit's going up, this unit's going up, this unit's going up, and you kind of deploy them in the Star Realm as you go. And then so they put all their stuff on, and then they nuked our 2 units. And I was like, cool, but they had 2 turns because they chose to go second for the double turn, and then we gave them the double turn. So when we won it, so they actually had 2 turns to only kill 2 of our units. And I was like, wicked, you guys used 2 of your turns. I didn't say that to them, of course, like they were nice guys. But like this sounds arrogant, but I didn't say it to them. But they did 2 turns to kill 180 points of our army, and then we had basically 4 turns to fight them when they only had 3 to fight the rest of our army. So it was pretty awesome. So they also had those new Zangor Skyfires.
Yeah.
They are bananas.
Didn't
they're
the
really
winning
good.
list for the singles have like 16 of them or something ridiculous?
Yeah, they're disgusting.
They're very good.
Had Lord of Change and a bunch of just Zangors and cool stuff like Brims and stuff. So we came in and we killed those Skyfires. Jason's Retribuers came in, bang, took them out. Prime came in, charged a unit of blues or pinks on an objective to clear them off, and we just tore them apart. In a couple of turns, and we ended up winning really big.
You guys weren't using any of the newer models, right? The Stormcast, newer stuff, the archery and.
No, we used the typical my old army basically. Now Jason, there was one round. It probably would have been maybe a minor win, because we were basically playing for the minor win. We thought for sure that we'd tie on the primary, but Jason ended up making like 8 5-up saves, and so we had one guy left with 1 wound to contest an objective, which ended up actually putting us in the lead by 1 point. So it was really, really, really clutch. And then the Prime came in, and he just started eating units. Kills 10 pinks, then he kills the 20 blues that come out, fought them. But these guys didn't have enough models to summon. And in Age of Sigmar, you have to buy them in your list. Yeah. So the wicked part about it is even though they have the split rule, going into it, okay, you only have 10 brims and you only have 20 blues. So if I kill this unit of pinks and then your blues come out, that unit of pinks can't split. So you can really play it strategically.
I like
so
that.
These were custom scenarios?
Yeah, they're custom Adepticon, written by Alex Gonzalez. I should give him a shout out. Alex and Carrie-Ann Gonzalez are the head organizers of this. Well, she does data entry, and he's like the GM or whatever of the Age of Sigmar. And so he wrote the scenarios, I believe. They're pretty fun, decent. They were pretty clear. I thought they were clear and fun. So that was good. So we ended up actually winning decent. And then game 3, we ended up on Warhammer TV.
Woo!
Which made my weekend. And
Nice.
again, I'll thank Alex and Carrie-Ann.
you didn't give me a hand signal.
What do you mean?
I told you to give me a hand signal on TV.
You're supposed to throw up the CanHammer gang signs.
I was just so nervous and excited to be on there. I was like, I ain't eating nothing. Did you guys see my CanHammer advert that I put it on the table at
No,
one
I didn't.
point?
You put your card on the table?
CanHammer logo in one of the corners on the screen.
Nice.
So we got on there. Jason, we were pretty nervous. It was against Archeon, Lord of Change.
So how did you get on Warhammer TV?
Basically, you had to have a fully painted pure GW army, and you had to play against a pure GW army with no counts as, nothing like that, all on rounds, I believe. And you also had to be on one of the top tables. So you had to be not the top. We weren't the top table because we weren't on perfects, but you had to be in the top echelon type thing, like of 1-2 games. Mm-hmm. And so we've actually played against, it was Frankie and a guy from the UK. I guess Alex and Carrie-Ann, Alex I think pushed for me to be on there. He said it was between us and another team, and I think he had a little hand in that. So
We'll have to have him on the podcast again.
Yeah. He'll probably say he did nothing, but he did a lot, and it meant a lot. So thanks very much, Alex. We're pretty that made my weekend. Like that was
interview.
I was on there. I was like, man, even if I get my teeth kicked in, which we did, it was worth it, and it made me super happy. So we ended up playing Archeon. We screwed up turn 2. We were an inch too close, and Archeon, he can add 1 inch to his charge. So instead of being 24 away, we were 25 away, but we should have been 26. He charged us turn 1, and from then it was all downhill. A lot of people were like, well, you should have went after Kairos and went after that objective because Archeon was on this side of the board. But at the turn that they came in, he was kind of in the middle, and we were already behind because we didn't get the double turn we needed. So we scored both objectives. They scored none. And then if we would have got the double turn, we would have scored again, and then we could have contested and probably won the game quite handily. Just by trickling in units. But because we didn't get the double turn, they then scored both objectives, which put them in ahead, and then they surrounded one, and then Archeon was on the other. So Jason and I wouldn't say we panicked, but we went, let's hit Archeon. If we can get lucky and drop him, we can drop him. And so the Warhammer TV guys told me that they didn't like the Prime because he never makes his charges when he comes in. And I went, oh, I've never failed that in my life. I've never failed that. So I'm due. But if it happens, you guys curse me. It's your fault. And so I came in. The 2 units of Retributors came in to charge Archeon. I'm like, Prime's going in. I rolled 2 2s. He failed. Frankie looks at me and goes, hey, man, there's people watching. They want to see the Prime fight Archeon. Move him in. And so we kind of sat there. If you watch the stream, it feels like nothing happens for like 5 minutes because we're sitting there. And you could tell Frankie's partner didn't want the Prime to come in. I didn't want the Prime to come in. Jason didn't want the Prime to come in because we don't really believe in that. And it actually put me in a very uncomfortable place. And then Frankie's like, no, there's people watching. They want to see this fight. Throw them in. And I was like, I don't like taking gimmies, man. And then I did it. I put them in, right? And it was kind of...
So why'd you do that if 3 out of 4 people didn't want it?
I don't know. Because it's for the people.
For the greater good.
People want to see it. It would win for a better game, I guess. I don't know why.
Change the outcome.
I don't even know why I said that on the air. It's just that I just didn't want to do it, and his Frankie's partner's like, oh, they want to do it, and I was like, no, we actually don't want to. That's why we're discussing it. We'd rather take the failure. I don't know. It was really awkward.
Did the Warhammer TV guys input into that?
No, they don't interfere with your game at all.
Yeah.
So anyway, we did that, and they explained. I think if you watch it, you can listen. They'll say, oh, they let him go in, which is fine. He went in, did the hits, used up their Destiny dice. I think he took like 3 wounds or something like that from the Prime, which is okay. And then they had to use more of their Destiny dice to guarantee kill the Prime, which they did. And then Frankie's like, well, that's our trick. That's kind of why we wanted him in, but it's also good for the camera. And I was like, yeah, I figured that. But then we got the Retributors, which did a ton of wounds to Archeon. And then the next round, because the rest of the Tzeentch army can't do much in combat. And then the next turn, Jason ended up killing Archeon. But by that time, they had actually gotten too many points that we couldn't mathematically catch up, just because a few things didn't go our way. So they ended up bringing in their Lord of Change, took out a whole bunch of our Retributors. Jason's Liberators fought, I think it was Kairos for a bunch of turns. And then finally, turn 5 or 4, I think it was turn 5, Douglas came in and tried to contest an objective but failed to charge.
Douglas.
We ended up losing big, and it was pretty good. The last couple turns, it was like when you know you've mathematically lost, but you're just playing because you're being filmed. That's kind of what it was. Yes. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the shit out of the game. So
people were asking in the chat, is this like frontline Frankie?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, from Frontline.
So what was it like to play on the stream, other than being on the stream? I mean,
it's no different than playing a game.
So I heard that they want you to explain everything and know the proper rules and names for all the rules and stuff like that.
Nope.
No,
you don't talk at all. You don't hear their voice at all. They have a guy that enters in all the data into the chat, and then they have the commentators that talk about the game, and that's it. They don't hear you talk at all. They take care of all that. Looking up rules. If you make a mistake, they will correct you, actually.
Really?
That's
Now,
awesome.
there was some questionable stuff from Jason and mine's perspective that we wanted to like, but we just kind of like we were just really easy. Like that's the only downside about playing on a stream is like you feel like you have to keep the game progressing at a decent pace. So because sometimes you want to stop and like have a discussion or so and you just can't do that. From our perspective, we wanted to just keep it going like we're filming a battle report. So him and I kind of felt like we screwed up a little bit just because like in real life, Jason's like we probably would have stopped and we would have been like we would have asked for sure if what their max threat range was and what spells like. So we weren't prepared with that and we got caught off guard and it'll never happen again, which is what it is. But that Archeon being able to add +1 to his charge and then hitting us when we were just on the an inch out was kind of what ruined our day.
So I think you mentioned this early on, but I remember watching the beginning of that video because I was a little too busy to watch. Because it was on the Friday. I think I was busy with work. Imagine that. The army looked very low model count, right in my neck of the woods. So it was what? It was Fate Weaver, a Lord of Change, Archeon, and what else?
2 sorcerers on disc from the new book, the Zangors.
Yeah,
they're pretty decent. They're just pretty. We'll save that for the Disciples of Zinch book. They're good. I like them a lot. And then it was 2 units of cultists. Sorry, Marauders and a unit of pinks, I believe. Maybe 2 units of pinks. So that was just to make the battle line. So if you were to make, because they had to take 4 battle line, I'm sure they wouldn't have really taken 4 battle line units. They probably would have just taken like 3 if you're playing a singles army. So that would probably lower the model count by 10 there. And they use those just to bubble wrap it. And so if you watch the stream, you'll see us come in with our archers and we shoot all the Marauders and stuff, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, like why aren't you? Well, we were clearing the chaff in case we wanted to drop in and assault them. Yeah.
Very cool.
So it was crazy. It was like a crazy game, but you can go on Warhammer TV and watch it, man. It was a lot of fun. But like that charge, like so if you're watching it, I roll the 2 2s and then they're like, oh, and I failed it.
That sucks.
And I did
bound to
my
happen
comment as well because I was like, I just forgot my comment as well, so it was a big mistake. But
Nerves.
So that was that. That was the Friday night Age of Sigmar. I guess we can move on.
Yeah, so let's talk about the team tournament. So the team this year was you guys were Sons of Scotty.
Which is our pre-CanHammer team name, and because we won, it's like in the Hall of Heroes things or whatever. So we maintain that name, even though we prefer to maybe go to CanHammer. But
nice. So it was you, Dan Platt, Jason Sparks, and who's
Will
your
Paul.
fourth? Will Paul.
Yeah, so Will Paul and I are
team.
founding members of the team. Dan Platt joined us this year. He asked to come on board, which I can't say no because he's pretty damn good at the game.
And he asked us to give him a shout out. He did
Jason's
make top 8 in the singles.
Yeah, he did make top 8. Jason is my local player, and he's also on the ETC team, and he's really good. So I didn't want to, I was like, well, cool. I'm like, you guys can carry me all the way to victory, maybe. So yeah, that was our team. It was pretty good. We took Eldar because the way the format's designed, Eldar fit perfectly, and you need really good troops. I would have to say, like the arguably the 2 best combinations for the team tournament is drop pods, OBSEC Marines and pods, and Eldar because of the jet bikes and all the other stuff you can fit in. And so we took basically everybody took 3 units of jet bikes. I took an aspect host with 3 units of spiders. Jason took 2. Why am I forgetting this? These things, warp hunters. Dan took a lynx with the flame template, the big one, 18-inch
Nice.
torrent. I also had 3 hornets. And what did Will take? Oh, Will took the Wraith Knight, the D battery, and Eldrad.
So you all had to be the same faction?
No,
you don't have to. No,
whatever you
Oh,
want.
so 4 individuals.
Yeah, and it's specific list. Like it's very unique for the Adepticon team tournament. One player gets an extra fast attack choice. One person gets a Lord of War. One person gets a Forge World unit, I think, and one person gets a
Forge World is whatever.
Oh, Forge World 0 to 1, or wasn't it 0 to 1 unit?
Per unit. So you could have like Hornets, Warp Hunters.
Somebody gets, I think, it's an extra heavy support, and then one person gets a formation.
Or you can take a fortification, or you could take an assassin. There's all these different +1 options. It's basically an allied detachment with bonus options.
Yep.
And So our team is pretty good. It was a very similar list that we did last year. We just dropped some of the D batteries because we did win last year. We just dropped some of the D batteries for Warp Hunters, which was one of the things that I was like, I regretted last year not bringing. And it was pretty good. So we were ready to go. We did a giant waterfall display board. Greenleaf Terrain did that up for us for a price. It was beautiful, but we wanted to go all out this year to get some extra points. And then, of course, I painted all the army except for 9 bikes and a Farseer. Freehand on every model and eyes done and everything, which is my other army, which is it's not the nicest army, but it's pretty nice for me. And it's like the only army I have that I pulled out all the stops on, even though, a lot of it was speed painted. So
like,
it's not
personally, I find it very interesting all the hobbying you did for Adepticon, contrary to your normal standards. Not that you're not good at it, but
well, you've only seen my demons. That's abnormal. So my demons with the dip thing, that's abnormal for me.
Yeah, that's really weird for Chris.
My normal thing is fully completed armies and display boards. It's just because I switched to demons last minute for the ETC team, and I've been just cycling through demons so fast builds that I didn't end up painting anything completely. So you just came in when I was like lowering my standards, but all my other stuff
first impressions
highlighted on the board and stuff like that. So, but anyway, so round 1 we played the AFC, which is the Adepticon film crew. They always do a really nice display board. Their army was stunning. Their display was amazing, and they didn't make showcase, which actually blew my mind because their stuff was ridiculously good. Every Genestealer Cult model was painted to perfection.
I heard about that army.
Yeah, like it was so beautiful that the fact that they didn't make showcase was actually very disheartening to me. But anyway, so the way this works is we pair up randomly for the first 3 games. So it was me and Jason round 1, and we were terrified. Genestealer Cult's a terrifying army. If they roll enough sixes, they can come in and just like kill you. Like they can kill Eldar, they can table you. So you got to put the right amount of stuff on. So we put all our warp spiders on, spread them out. They rolled 1-6, and then we were able to just retaliate. And it was actually a pretty quick game, just because they didn't get the 6s they wanted, they didn't get the charges. And then the Genestealer Cult didn't hold up to the Warp Spiders and Bikes and Warp Hunters. So it was a pretty quick game. We got a 30-0. And then, of course, Dan and Will played on the other table, and they also got a 30-0. And we all got First Blood line. Like, so the way Adepticon works is there's awards for if you get all your Line Breaker, if you get all your First Blood, if you get all your other stuff, like, First Blood Line Breaker and Slay the Warlord. They're all bonuses worth awards. So our goal was to get all of those, period. And they add up to your overall score. So we ended up getting perfect. Every point we could imaginably gotten round 1. Round 2, we played ETA. And this was me and Dan played together, and then Will and Jason played together. They played, basically, it was Zek and Nick we played. In first round, we played Brian and Jeff, and they played Eldar. So it was a pure Eldar army. I believe it was Zek who made top 16, but had the mask in his list, and so got DQ'd because you can't ally demons.
Oh, this is the Corsair player. Yes.
Corsairs. I think it was Zek or Nick, one of those 2 guys. So that sucks for him that he made that mistake, because he was a good player. Like, we were like, well, we're playing a good player round 2. And they had like a Wraithguard Eldar army, and they fell for Dan's trick. Dan had basically could go flat out and shoot, so they deployed out of range of his links, but he went flat out and shot. He got First Blood that way, killed the bike unit, crippled another bike unit.
Oh, gross.
So sorry, what do you mean by that? I don't understand.
So Eldar can take an upgrade for 25 points that allows you to go flat out and then shoot.
And they didn't know that?
They didn't know that.
Oh.
And they also had Wraithguard, and Warp Spiders do a quick job of Wraithguard, and they had Eldrad as well, so they could scout up. And then, of course, on the other table, Will and Jason just, Will had Eldrad as well and D batteries, and they went through that. So we also got, we got a 30-0 on our table, and I want to say they got like a 25 or a 30 on their table as well with all the bonuses. I didn't write down how they did. I just wrote down how my games went.
Reminds me of one of the matches last year with the Lynx again with the Sonic Lance. So is that a torrent weapon? Technically, no.
Yeah, we just said it was torrent. Like we would be like, this is torrent 18. But yeah, it does. It's not actually torrent. So if they ask you if that's torrent, you could say no if you're a dick. So So round 3, we played Wrong Way Kids, and follow him on Twitter. It's Paul, and he has a podcast as well. I listened to it, and I can't remember the name off the top of my tongue.
Forge the Narrative?
Nope. Oh my god, I feel so bad. I'll try to get this on the next cast. I have him on my feed.
Or what's his name? I might know.
Paul.
Last
His
name?
picture is him like this.
Paul what?
Yellow shirt. It's okay. I'll look it up later. We'll move on. And so they were playing drop pods with Centurions. So sent units and drop pods, tons of tactical Marines, OBSEC, and it was team table quarters, and it was Will and I this time. And so we're kind of worried, right? Because OBSEC can hold a table quarter alone, and they're dropping in pods with OBSEC Marines taking table quarters, and we have to clear off pods, which is kind of hard for Eldar to do. And so we played a hard-fought game. We ended up killing a bunch of their stuff. We scored what we needed to score. We were doing okay. And then Will needed to charge and kill 3 scouts to have a 30-0. And he was going to shoot them, and I said, dude, don't shoot them, charge them, because you don't want to fail that charge, right? And it was close, and he went, okay, and he charged them. And so I screwed up because he didn't do any wounds to the scouts, and they held.
Scouts.
And then the game ended on turn 5, and we were like, oh man. So we got 25-5, which is pretty good. Then the next round we played Cambridge Undivided. This also had another player that made top 16 in it, but we didn't play on that table. Dan and Jason played on that table, and then Dan and Will played on that table, and Jason and I played on the other table. Sorry, that was Wrong Way Kids. I think they had the guys that made top 16. Sorry,
that was Paul Murphy. We got confirmation.
Paul Murphy. There you go.
Forge the Narrative is the podcast.
Forge the Narrative. Yeah. My bad. Because you said something else. Anyway, I know
Logan said Forge the Narrative.
You guys are jerks. So anyway, that was their team. So the one guy was really good on that. And this game we played Cambridge Undivided, and so we're on almost all wins. Dan and Will, I think, Dan and Jason, I think, got like 17 points that round. So we were just down a little bit. That we didn't have to play any of the crazy teams. But so Cambridge Undivided, they were also drop pods with Centurions. And it was a similar style game. They came in, we null deployed, spiders killed all the Marines, and we got a 30-0. And then our other team got a 30-0. And then last round, we played Forge World Columbia, Team 1. And this was me and myself and Dan, and then it was Will and Jason playing on the other table. And they were also Centurions and drop pods with Marines. And we did the same thing. We put the spiders on in all the buildings. They came in. We jumped around, hid. We got stealth ruins, which was really nice. They also got stealth ruins. And we just cleaned up the pods and the Marines. They would make their units invisible, but we would just shoot their drop pod with the links and hit the whole unit. And we ended up getting a 30-0, and our other team got a 30-0.
Nice. It sounds like Space Marines.
Armies.
Sorry, who wants to go?
Go for it, Derek.
Like 3 armies is the same thing. That's kind of.
They were very similar.
Yeah.
Now, Forge the Narrative guys, they had Black Temple. They had all different chapters. Maybe I should have went in that. Sorry, that was the Wrong Way Kids. They had all different chapters. The Forge World Columbia, the Cambridge Undivided were all Ultramarines, and the Forge World Columbia were the Sentinels of Terra. So all their bolters were twin linked at 12 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty solid. It meant they had no Tigurius, though, in their Librarius Conclave, but we almost played 3 identical armies. Yeah, like different chapter tactics and this and that, but they're almost identical.
That's a really cool change, though, from last year. I mean, as far as I know, the missions and the tournament comp for lists was almost identical, but last year it was like 50-60% Eldar. And I know at the very high end of the results this year, as well, there was a ton of Space Marine lists, so that's a really cool change.
Well, it's not that it was a cool change; it was that everybody was tooling to beat Eldar.
Fair enough. I mean, at least it's a shift in the meta.
What's like a really good counter to Eldar?
Drop pods. Yeah,
drop pods. That fits in that format. So, yeah, that's what happened. And so I guess you guys want to go into the results.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. So. Let's look at the flag right behind me here as well, by the way. For those listening on the podcast, it's a giant Canadian flag in my room.
Yeah. So the ND Open, they won best overall.
Yeah, that's the group out of Montreal and Quebec City, Northern Defenders.
Yeah. We won second overall, and we won best general because we had 7 points higher than all the other American ATC teams and those guys. So we did really well. We were the highest battle period. So we got second overall, but because our theme was 50 or 48 out of 100.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second.
Which is crazy, because your board was just ridiculous.
Yeah. And like Jason put like a lot of effort into the fluff, and we modeled like a sword on our board that was in our fluff, and we had Eldrad in our army, who, spoiler, we kind of wanted a Farseer on a bike, but we took him because he fit with our story, because he got, kicked out of his crap. Like, oh yeah, so we put a lot. We had these booklets, we had dice, we had display sheets, we had a custom-made team logo, and we got like a 48 on theme.
Yeah, and like all our 60 something on paint.
They were all painted identically, so it's like it's the same Eldar army. I don't know why.
Yeah. So let's talk about this though, because this is something that's come up. I've seen this in a bunch of Facebook groups from a whole bunch of different people. This is not just something that's specific to our club for this. The hobby scoring for the team tournament this year seemed to be totally out of whack. So
yeah, I know what it was.
To put this,
I 100% know what it was.
I mean, so let's talk about that in a second. But to put this in perspective, the army that was taken this year was very largely similar to what you guys ran last year. It was a majority painted by the same person in the same paint scheme as last year, with a dramatically better display board, and it scored 30 points lower on paint score and half of what it did last year on theme.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And there were armies in the showcase this year that didn't even have display boards.
So one of the issues this year was, I think they had more painting judges. Instead of having 2 teams, they had like 4 or 3. And I kept asking judges, hey, we're ready to be painted. They said, oh, you're not in our table assignment. And then the guys that marked ours, I don't know who they were. And they also marked that beautiful, gorgeous Genestealer cult army with a big display. And they marked a few other the really nice ones. So I think one of the teams was just really hammering theme on Eldar and other armies. And that's what I think the imbalance was.
That's
Do
really
they check?
weird.
Is it a purely subjective rubric, or there's...
It is, for the most part.
Subjective.
It's not
Okay.
not
But-
for the players.
And they don't audit their inter-rater reliability,
They don't
obviously.
audit it. But there was armies in the showcase that were like base coated, maybe dry brushed 1 layer. And there was an army in the showcase that had a display board, and they got marked with that display board. They made showcase, but the display board was like all chipped and screwed up. And they didn't. They basically said, okay, that army, we're going to lend them. The judges lent them a brand new display board for showcase.
Wow.
Because theirs was damaged, even though that display board, I've seen it at other events and it looked the same. So it is what it is, but there was some definite shenaniganry that left us very salty. Like I was like, we discussed it. We said, okay, we don't deserve showcase over that Genestealer cult army.
Yeah, like that's fair. And then neither of you guys.
So we said,
make it.
so if we looked at the showcase, we said, well, there's like literally there's 2 armies that were like questionable. I was like, but we don't even deserve showcase. They do, and they do over that.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying my army deserved to be there, because it probably didn't, but there was definitely beautiful armies that got screwed, and they all happened to be in our section of the convention hall for the paint marking.
And to clarify, this isn't hating on any of the players who brought armies. Like you have to have a very nice looking army at this event, or you're just going to get bombed. It is what it is. The results are just very surprising on the scoring for it. Now, with that said,
but I was pissed that we essentially did it. The theme is not open on what they're scoring. Yep. So we've been doing the not same army theme, but we've been trying our best to get theme points. And last year we hit the peak. We got almost perfect, I think.
Yep.
So we decided this year we're going to do what we did last year. We'll step it up, but we'll do the same format, and we got half the points. That's the only thing that blew my mind, right?
And to
we got nothing. We got like chump points. We got 50%.
You guys got less than we did last
crazy.
year, and we one of the guys on my team last year told the judges our theme was have as many jet bikes and 4,000 points as we can, and we got more theme points last year than you guys did this year.
Yeah, and then it's not because our board was commissioned, so that's why I say we didn't deserve it. We just wanted a high score, but there was commission painted armies from GMM Studios in the showcase, so that clearly wasn't the factor. But
Well, yeah, I mean, a great example last year, the Long War army that was there was all commission painted, right? Yeah. Like that shouldn't matter for that kind of stuff. But anyway, what I was going to say with that is for the people who did really, really well and apparently got the theme and scoring right, massive congrats to Northern Defenders and Team Quebec.
Yes.
Team Quebec got 100 on, I think it was 100 on paint and 99 on theme, something like that. It was unbelievably high. I mean, granted, they do like super well on that every year, but they've kept it up for what, 4 years now, winning Best Painted.
Do we have pictures of that?
They do a beautiful. It's all online.
It's all up on the Adepticon page.
I sound super salty. I got my medal here, second place or best general or whatever it was.
It's not gold.
It's not gold, but I'm not saying that anybody else deserved it less than us or whatnot. But I did notice inconsistencies about like, no display board gets perfect on theme and like higher on paint, and I was like, well, I have freehand in my army. They have none.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan of Hobby, and my latest Deep Thoughts, which comes out tomorrow, I think, is on Hobby Scores. But I think if it's going to be subjective, which is fine because it's a subjective thing, there needs to be either the same person or some form of audit of inter-rater reliability. So otherwise, the whole thing is just useless, right? So we have that in medicine where if you're rating a skill or something, you have to have a measure of inter-rater reliability. Otherwise, if it's way off, then that means nothing. Like it's useless.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I know that I was really let down. I was really disappointed with that. And
especially after you guys spent all that effort on the board and everything. Like, geez.
Well, the board, like, the painting, it's the time that goes into it, the packs for the theme.
I did the models to make sure that it all matched, and it was all my stuff, and I did extra freehand and gem work this year, and to get a lower score than last year, like by a significant margin, and a lot of our stuff was new this year. Like the Warp Hunters were new. It wasn't all new. Like we reused, I'd say about 50% of the army, but the Reapers were new. I did so much new stuff, and then to get like literally that's like 48%.
Yeah.
Like I failed on, and like Jason put like effort into the story, and we bought special swords, and we put LEDs behind the sword, behind the waterfall for that, and it was just like to get like a failure grade in something that we put so much of our heart and soul into was like depressing, man.
Yeah,
like I wasn't even happy with like our like we were so happy with how we played. Our team was awesome dudes, and we won. Like we were like the top generalship. But it just left a sour taste to fail. Like I have a failing grade. I failed at painting and I failed at theme.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you, I guess this is sort of like damage control to an extent. But if you think about it, like this is a massive anomaly compared to your track record at Adepticon and other events. Like this is clearly somebody who screwed something up. I wouldn't take that to heart for your hobby.
Usually it's the opposite. When we won, we were the opposite. We won on our soft scores.
Yeah, exactly.
Our battle was not bad.
Like Showcase was what won you guys best overall last year, right? It was like that one point that got you over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we only lost by 13 points overall. And so if you and they had 52 more theme points than me.
Yeah.
And we lost by 13 overall.
Yeah, that was pretty gross.
They deserved it. Their shit was beautiful. They played well. I'm just saying, like, I was really like crushed, like devastated, but we can move on.
So yeah, let's talk about the other results. So to the team that got best overall was Northern Defenders, and I got to give shout outs to these guys. All they needed to do was get rid of me, and they won best overall. we got a different team.
They added Dom, and they changed
it was Dom. It was Eric and Vincent who I played with last year. But yeah, no, we got 9th last year, and they got best overall this year. So congrats to them. Team Quebec picked up best presentation. Lost 13th Legion, lost 13th something. Can't remember the exact name of the team. It was Max Dubois and a bunch of his buddies. They got best Imperial, I believe.
Their army was really nice. Their army was really nice.
Yeah, it was very, very, very nice. Who else did we get? Canada got some other award in that as well, didn't they? It was just the 4 of us. So it was best overall, best general, best theme and presentation, best Imperial. And then the guys you played earlier that you mentioned, Paul Murphy's team, they got best sports for the event, which is great.
They were nice guys. Yeah. Paul Murphy's a great guy. It's too bad that we crushed them, and it was they didn't like that one. It was fun.
Nice. Let's talk about the wrap up for this. So the prize pool for Adepticon is enormous. Like, it's not a cash prize, it's not like ITC, but the stuff that you guys can walk away with, especially for some of the higher awards, is pretty spectacular. What did you guys bring in for a haul this year for Best General?
8 Imperial Knights.
8 Imperial Knights.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's double what it was for Best Overall last year.
And it was like 3 pieces of terrain in there as well.
That's
8
amazing.
Imperial Knights.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So what?
So now I have 7 Imperial Knights unless I sell them.
And you play with none of them.
You're not a charity. I'm not giving it to you.
Nice. So, and I saw that Games Workshop brought in the Forge World Chainsword prizes this year as well. Was that just best
and
overall?
they gave them to us when we went up to get our awards, and then took them away. And gave us medals.
Gutted.
Yeah,
Gutted.
I was disappointed. I like the medals more.
That's funny. Yeah, the awards are super cool. They gave them out at LVO as well, so that's cool to see that they're continuing with that. So
they didn't end up giving those out?
They did 2 best overall.
They gave them to Dom and crew and the Northern Defenders. So I might just drive down to Montreal and break into some houses.
Steal them.
I'm happy those guys won. They've put in a lot of effort for a long time, and they truly did deserve it.
Yeah, they're a great bunch.
And they took the drop pod Marines, and they played well, and they're all good players. Like, not a single person on that team is not a really good player. So,
yeah, absolutely. So, any closing thoughts on Adepticon before we go on to Q&A here?
Yeah, I love it still.
Yeah, we should mention Batman as well.
Oh, we should mention Batman. That's actually a really good call. So, Team Canada went down for Batman, along with a buddy of ours who actually works for Night Miniatures. Went down there to represent Canada in the Batman tournament, which I think was about 26, 30 players, something like that. Like, it was not a huge, but it's one of the bigger Batman events that's been there. And Canada took home 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th, and I think best presentation in that event. So they did a clean sweep of it.
Andrew, Dylan, Will Paul, this guy Jason, right?
Jason Jabro.
Not my buddy Jason.
Yeah.
No, not that Jason. Jason.
Who else was down there? A couple other guys. BJ, Andrew Triple.
Oh yeah, Triple.
A
lot of the
nice
regulars.
Those guys down this year. They were. I didn't get to hang out with them. This tournament's just crazy. Like, I played games all night. One thing I want to talk about too is Saturday night after the team tournament, I got to actually hang out with a. Like, we're friends online. I never met him in person. Mark Zielinski. Saturday night, we sat down for 2 hours, talked about life, family, and we watched and played in a demo. And I had the card here, but I think I dropped it. There you go. We watched a demo, and I wanted to give him a shout out because it was an awesome game with Wicked Miniatures of the Cult of Barnacle Bay, and it was by Panda Cult Games, and it hits Kickstarter this fall. It's a cooperative dungeon dueling board game. Very, very popular. People loved it, and the miniatures were gorgeous. There's like a bear shark. It's freaking so cool.
Bear shark?
Yeah.
Bear shark?
Yeah, it's right there. So I'm actually,
that's amazing.
I'm actually going to kickstart this. I feel like you should check it out. These guys worked very hard on it. They're all bigwigs in other companies and stuff, and they're trying to do this startup, and it's really, really, really cool. But yeah, it's good. So people that don't know Mark Zielinski, he's from the Countercharge, which is a podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Of Ohio.
Yep.
And he's also of Dice Tower fame. He has his own theme song. I don't know if you listen to Dice Tower.
Oh, I know Dice Tower. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a contributor on the Dice Tower Counter, and he does like a million other videos, podcasts, interview things, but I can only name the 2 big ones because there's so many. So we hung out. Finally, we're on the Fitbit Challenge, and it was really good to meet him in person, and we had a really good time watching that game by Panda Cult. So
very cool. And actually, speaking of games, we recently received part of a review copy of a game from a Polish company. The game's called Afterglow. It's sort of a Necromunda style game. A little surprised. We only got 1 kit, so we can't actually do a game review of it. But we'll do a review of the models up on the YouTube channel. So be sure to check them out. I think we're going to start seeing them at cons in probably the next couple of years. So. Oh,
the other thing too, I want to give a shout out is Hawk War Games was there.
Yep.
Beautiful display. Sold some stuff. I bought the 3rd book and the in the series for their miniatures game. They were demoing Drop Fleet Commander, which I kickstarted, got everything basically. It's a wonderful game, a really wicked company. Support them. The guys were super nice. And you know, how many sales booths do you go up and Will Paul asked him a fluff question, and the guy knew it.
That's great.
And so he walks up, he's like, "Oh, that Scourge ship, is that metal or biological?" And he says, "Well, it depends what part of the." And he went into this whole thing on it, and I was like, "This is how you know the guy loves his job and loves the company he works for because
That's
he knew
awesome.
the fluff."
They have a really small team actually. Their rules team, I think, is just 2 guys. It's the guy that runs the company and another dude whose name has David Lewis.
Yeah, David.
I met him at LVO actually. We need to get him lined up for an interview here on the podcast. Or on the Vox, one of the two.
We have to. We have
but
to.
yeah, he was
that
super,
company is like
super
my
excited.
favorite.
Yeah,
I've never
they're
played
really
a
cool.
game of their stuff, but I own so much of it, and I just want to play so badly. I don't have anybody to play with, but it's like
we'll come out. We'll do a drop fleet day.
I love that company,
Teach
and I
me.
love. You will play.
I need more models.
Oh, God.
Okay, so I guess that's it for Adepticon. Final thoughts are, it's awesome. I think next year I'm just gonna go and play Age of Sigmar all 4 days.
Yeah,
I
See
think
how it goes.
if I go next year, I'm going to do AOS.
I don't have it in my heart to do another. So in order to do well in the team tournament, you have to do a great big display.
Yeah.
And I don't have it in me to do another
Too much
great
work.
big display army. So and my buddy Alex, he runs the whole AOS. I'm gonna go and I wanna develop my Fire Slayers, and I want to develop maybe some Caradhran Overlords. I want to develop some dwarf armies.
Now, do
and see if I
they
can-
have an Age of Sigmar team tournament like the 40K team tournament, or are they adding one?
No. They have the championships, and then they have a bunch of mini events. So but like you could go and probably playing I think 5 or 6 Age of Sigmar mini events and stuff and big tournaments. So I'm really wanting to do that next year.
That's cool.
Because-
Yeah, the 40K's had some weird stuff the past few years. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. Like, I went last year and I had a lot of fun, but there's always some drama. Like, there's always an illegal list problem,
Yeah.
or there's weird stuff with the scoring.
We don't
or
even need to talk about this anymore because it is what it is. They run what they want to run, and I can just go play Age of Sigmar. I don't need to we don't need to talk about them. So
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so that's it. I it's awesome. I recommend you go, and if you want to build a huge 40K display, go play the 4-man. You'll love it.
Yeah,
but
it's a
I've
lot
done
of fun.
I've done 7 years. I'm just exhausted. So
Fair enough.
move on
All
to
right.
Q&A. Right?
Let's hit the Q&A. So we only got
There's
some
sorry. We should just say there's no Pimp My List this week, just because I got back from Adepticon last night really late. So
and we will be doing, I want to say in the next month, probably, we'll be doing a Pimp My List only show. Like, that's going to be our show to get through our backlog, because we have one hell of a backlog for Pimp My
List-
List.
yeah,
to
and it'll be a
lose,
mixed show of Age of Sigmar
Yeah,
and
it'll be
40K.
both.
So stay tuned.
So be sure to check that out. All right, so Q&A. First question we have is from Ron. This is in reference to the entire podcast. Are you going to lose your mind and start swearing about the new 40K rumors? I think no. We're all cautiously optimistic. I'm more cynical than everyone else, but I recognize the
extremely
need
excited.
for it.
I'm
I
extremely
think it's
excited.
awesome. I
So
think it's
Darren,
awesome.
can you write down Ron, and then we'll do a raffle for who gets the White Dwarf?
I don't have a pen, but sure.
All right.
Okay, well I'll do it then. I'll do it.
First question's Ron. So next one is from Innes, is on Facebook. Having a look at the results, I think we already talked about this. So I guess the general question we can apply to Adepticon, but in everything. What are your thoughts on having soft scores play such a massive part in the rankings of a gameplay event? So Darren, this actually fits in with your deep thoughts video you just did.
Yeah. So I think that hobby should play some part. How much is up for debate? But I think you can't separate hobby from playing, because it's all part of the game. List building is part of the hobbying. Everything from buying your models, it's all part of the hobby. So I think it has to be represented in there somewhere. As I said, how much of it is up to you as the person making your tournament. You can make it all one way or another, like it's up to you. But I feel like it should have some part of it.
So
It's a shame when stuff like that happens, like that happened to Chris. And
it's not a shame. It is what it is. It's I just feel
It is
so
what it is, but it's
I
still
feel
a
so
shame.
stupid right now because I ranted and I never rant. So
Turning into me.
But yeah, like I feel like hobby should have some role in the scoring. How much is individual?
well, you have to define what your event is about, and but you also have to cater to everybody. Like a lot of the stigma is like, is it so bad if somebody shows up with a spray prime black army and they play to win a best general awards and they absolutely cannot win overall or any of the hobby awards? To me, no. So I think you need to cater to that. Have like the 1, 2, 3 general, have the like overall, have the 1, 2, 3 paint, and then that way you're covering the best of both worlds. You can have guys that come with fluffy painted armies and they lose all their games and they're playing for this trophy. And you have the guys that come with black spray painted armies with the newest filth playing for that trophy. And then you have the guy that's the overall. And I think you have to. I don't think it's a bad thing to not have them, but I think it's like you could split them completely. Like you don't need an overall. You could have best general and best painted and have them separate, as far as I'm concerned. But I think you need to clearly define who you're catering your event to. And I think if you can cater to more of the groups, it's better for the whole hobby in general. Because like a lot of the painting guys, they don't see the perspective of the guys that game only. Now, I'm a guy that always likes to go for overall. I recognize overall as the top.
Yep.
The U.S. top ETC players recognize battle. So they don't care who the overall 4-man team winner is. They care about the best general every year.
Yeah, and that's an important note. This is a conversation I've actually had with a bunch of people because I'm working with a lot of the guys on the ITC side to try to figure out how we can get hobby scoring back into 40K in the US. So a long time ago for the GW events, like this is where the best overall, best general, all that stuff came from when they were running events. And that went away very, very quickly in the U.S. Best overall has not been a thing at U.S. events in a long time. I want to say like 8 or 9 years.
Besides Adepticon.
But like a lot of smaller events, it really isn't a thing. There's no specific best overall. The closest thing is like Renaissance Man, which is like still well below the other awards, and that's really just LVO and BAO that have that. So we're trying to figure out a way to get it back in there. And honestly, a lot of things seem like they're coming back to the way we've been running it up here and the way GW's been doing it, which is to have a weighted score for it. And just to recognize overall as somebody who is the best overall in the hobby. They've got the highest paint score, they've got the highest battle score combined effectively.
And you just make it the biggest award, so people
exactly you make
fight for it.
Make it the biggest award, and that's one of the huge differences when you go to some of these events in the U.S. as a Canadian player, especially from sort of where we are in the group we're with. Is I can't think of anybody in our group that has necessarily a poorly painted army, and that's even with some of the weaker players well, yes, but
that was pathetic. When I went to LVO with that demon army, I truly regretted it.
But that demon army was still nicer than I'd say 50-60% of the armies there, right? I don't think that's unfair to say, but it's to that point as well. You think that army was terrible, and by our standards, it's not great, but there's just a completely different mentality in the U.S. The top players, for the most part, do not have well-painted armies. Whereas
they don't care to.
Whereas up here,
they don't want it. It's not that they don't. They just don't want. They don't care.
They don't care. Whereas up here, it's very unlikely you're going to come across a high-end player who does not have a beautiful army because best overall is worth it.
We've had we consider the winner of the tournament the overall winner. 1, 2, and 3 usually too. So that's a big deal. So a lot of people lose their best general award because they're 1, 2, or 3 overall. We actually have a lot of crossover. Okay, next question.
All right. Our next question is from Kyle, who also just sent us a Pimp My List to take a look at. What was the comp for the 40K singles at Adepticon? Was it ITC? Was that out of the rulebook, or was it something else?
It was something else. I would say it's very close to just straight rulebook.
They
only had 3 detachments. No duplication unless it was within... Actually, they got rid of that. There's duplication, so... I played a guy with 2 gads, so...
All right.
Yep.
Next up, we've got from Ryan. I'm curious about the non-tourney stuff. How is the vendor hall? Any cool new products for our games collectively? Any fun stories from outside of the gaming?
Yeah, they had lots of seminars. I met...
Duncan, did you meet Duncan?
I didn't meet Duncan. I was sitting with Mark. Duncan walked by. Mark stood up and yelled at him, and Duncan waved and did a little dance. So it was kind of interesting. So yes, I guess I met Duncan. Yeah,
we've been stalking that dude like the whole time.
Yeah, you would be, not me, man.
You sniffed the air behind him.
Cool stories is we went down with Nick and Kim from Ottawa/Prescott, my area. They're 2 local guys, and we're at the bar. We're not even drinking. We just got in there. We were having 1 beer and dinner. And I went, and these guys were like getting the waitress to take their photo. and they had been drinking. Because Will and I were there earlier, and they were like not sloppy, but they were buzzing. And Kim stood up and posed in the. I was like, man, photobomb, and he stood up and he posed in the photobomb, and like for a long time, they were posing for like a minute, and he was standing there the whole time. It was kind of brilliant. That's a funny story.
That's great.
I don't know, like we just had a great time, like great bunch of guys. We just hung out. I don't know. I introduced the guys to yuppie food, as I call it, Starbucks breakfast sandwiches, which they all loved. So it's kind of interesting. And we went to Chick-fil-A. Oh, and we went to Popeye. We just went to all the crazy, greasy American chains, and we had a really good time.
Did you go to that terrible pizza place again?
Yeah, we did. And our waitress was like stunned. Like she would like stand there and like hold and she wouldn't. It was just like weird. And then we're like, Jason's like, "Oh, can I get this pizza to go?" And she's like, "Okay." And she starts putting it in like a foam thing, and I'm like, "Can we get a pizza box?" She's like, "No, we don't give pizza boxes." And then we look over, and there's a guy with a pizza box on the table next to us. And then like we're like, "Oh, do you guys take debit?" And she's like, "I don't know what that is." And then he's like, "Can you go ask your manager if you guys take debit?" She went. She just stood there. It was just the weirdest thing ever, man. It was so crazy.
Was she
we
like
were just
blinded by your medals or something? What the?
No, we didn't have medals or anything. We were just sitting there. We're like, what? We can't even handle this.
God.
And then it's kind of funny. So that's some fun story. There's a lot of fun stuff that happens, but a lot of it's just the camaraderie, man. We had a great group of guys, and I'm very fortunate that like my friends are so awesome to hang around with. But I'm sure yours are too. So
nice. All right. Next question from another Ryan. Your thoughts on all the potentially rules ideas GW teased at Adepticon? Looks sweet and good work, Team CanHammer.
Thank you very much. I think we talked about that earlier. Did he ask that earlier, that question?
I think we rolled into it. Yeah,
we talked
for
about
the most part.
And I'm sure there's going to be lots of opportunities to talk about it in the future.
We talked about it a lot.
So yeah, it's
We're
just
all
awesome.
excited,
I'm
though.
super excited. I'll write you down for the free white dwarf when I roll.
That's Ryan Pippi, actually one of our other patrons.
I put him as 2, but now I'll put
Ryan 2. There you go. All right.
So yeah, we talked about it earlier. Sorry.
Next question from Adam. Did they reveal a model from Mortarion along with their spoiler for Death Guard? No.
Just the scythe. Just the scythe.
It could be. It could be. What's his face though?
Typhus.
Could be a new Typhus. That's
he has a scythe too.
That model is pretty old. All right. Question from Ridvan. What was the meta like at the championships?
Same as this one. Dan Platt won one. Because Dan Platt got over.
Oh, meta.
No, the meta.
not the medals. Oh. Though Dan did get a medal, yes. Let's
that Yannari, Magnus Demons, Nick Navati's list that won it, the gaming part of it, not because Dan won the overall, was really awesome. It was 2 Screamer Stars, Be'lakor, Kairos, and the Heralds Incarnate or whatever the hell they are. And it was just a summon like crazy army with an invisible Screamer Star and a Grim Screamer Star. It was a pretty cool army. Lots of demons, lots of artillery. It was pretty standard, but the Yannari definitely were a thing.
Yeah, the double Wraith Knight is no joke.
Like after playing that, I handled the Yannari except for Sean Naden's list. I don't feel bad getting my ass kicked by Sean Naden, but because he's like arguably one of the best 40k players in the States. I think that's not even arguable anymore. But it was like the Yannari are just so freaking good.
Yeah.
I'm saying that somebody who's lost and beaten them on many occasions now, they're just way too good. You have to play so dicky against them, and I think Yannari changed the game. And Eldar needed it because they were a bottom tier book.
I hope you can see this because I'm doing this as hard.
I'd agree.
As I
think the Eldar needed some serious help, and
that's sarcasm.
Complete threat. You should have just burned your army before Yannari came out. It's unplayable.
Well, I haven't played with Yannari yet because warp spiders don't benefit from it as much, but they do if you take a lot of other stuff. But the way that the style of Eldar that I play, I just played it for the champs because that's all I had. But I want to play demons, so I don't even want to worry about it. Next question.
All right. Next question is from Jeff. How does Nick Nanavati keep winning? The answer to that is alcohol.
Please. No.
He is fueled solely by alcohol. It gives him superpowers.
His lists are ahead of the meta, everybody's taking Magnus. He's taking a list that can somewhat deal with Magnus. One of the things that helped him beat Dan is they played where you could pick the Warpstorm table before the game. So he picked his each one, and he rolled the 12 and took the Magnus off, and the game was over. And but he's just they play. You talk to those guys, they play. like Sean Naden plays in tournaments. Like they play all the time.
Yeah, Nick's
They're
playing a lot.
pushing they don't just like in our scene. You'll see like I'll have my Eldar list. It's the same list for like 3 events, and we play it. It wins, or it loses, and then you'll see this guy's AdMac list wins. We're not like pushing the envelope with new stuff as much as they are. That crew down there in the East Coast, they're putting like these funky like they're working on some kind of blue horror spam list that's like tons of dice and some like they're doing stuff that's like pushing the envelope, and we're just not as bad as inventive. Now, a lot of it's because they don't have paint scores, so they can just proxy this stuff at tournaments and test it out. But
Yeah. Well, yeah, you saw what Nick took to hammer in the New Year, the little
well,
brown blobs.
He had his brims there.
Yeah, I know he had the proper models this time, but
No, he
yeah,
didn't.
it's
He had some clay brims that he put on the table if he needed them.
anyway. The guys up in the Northeast U.S. really they do push the envelope. And Nick is
Well,
one of the
speaking of
premier players there.
He told me of something really awesome I want to share with you guys. They started playing where they were having trouble slow player in the ITC. They're sick of it. So they started doing this. When you get to the last half hour of the round, everybody stops, starts a timer, basically does a chess clock, and you play the last half hour of every round where each of you gets 15 minutes.
Yeah, the split time. I've seen that a lot lately, yeah.
And when you run out of time, you stop. But
Yep.
Sean was saying, like, if you're fast enough, you could play 3 turns when your opponent plays 1
Yep.
because you have enough time. So,
Yep.
and he says it works. So we're gonna test.
Oh,
it out.
it does. Yeah, I mean, there's no question. That any sort of clock split time approach absolutely 100% works in this game.
It's better than the LVO way where it's like, one player runs out of time. Like you finish the net that one turn, because it allows you to push through, and it also accounts for the people that say, well, my drop pod army has a really long early game and then it's fast late game.
Yep.
So that's why chess clocks don't work. This kind of says you have 2 hours to get your stuff done, and then you have a half hour of like, okay, you better finish your stuff.
Yep.
Who's next? Question 1.
All right, next question from Jared. Did you see any Harlequins there? It's from Jared Bond, another one of our patrons, actually.
Yeah. No, the only Harlequin player I've ever played is you, man. Pure Harlequin. Last year. So I didn't see very many. I didn't even see them used in Yannari forces at all.
Yeah, there were
It was
two
mostly Dark Eldar and Eldar.
two Harlequins at P&P.
Yeah, we had a lot of Harlequins, actually, locally. They're coming out of the woodworks.
Yeah.
All right, next question
really.
from Jamie. If you could only choose one, LVO or Adepticon?
What do you care about? Do you care about hobbies and playing and seminars and conventions, or do you care about ITC rankings points?
Yep, that's really
If you
what
care
it
about
comes
ITC rankings points and playing hardcore FU competitive tournament play, you go to LVO, which is fun. I love that.
Yep.
If you like hobby points, big displays, cool stuff, lots of cool different board games and different companies and people from all over different game systems and historicals, you go to Adepticon.
Yep.
That's basically it.
You can go to Adepticon, you can suck ass at every game, and you will have the most fun you will ever have at a convention.
But if you take a fluffy army to LVO, you'll just get your army crushed every round.
You will not have a lick of fun in the event.
I can have fun. Logan can't.
I can't. It's true. But anyway, yeah, that is what it comes down to. All right, on to some questions from the Twitch stream here. From Jeff, who do you think?
None of those were Twitch?
Those were all from Facebook.
Oh,
in
so
the
they
past
don't
like
get
3
the
hours.
chance to win the White Dwarf. They don't get the chance.
Ah, okay.
Because we're just doing Twitch this episode. Because actually, they'll get it for this episode.
Yeah.
Next episode will be Twitch only.
All right. Get some people on the stream.
Next time we have one, which will be probably 2 episodes from
So
now.
be sure, for those of you listening to us on iTunes, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You will see announcements for our streams, but they tend to be every second Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, and send a question in the comment of that show. It'll be a specific show. It won't be every show, and we'll have a draw for a White Dwarf. Okay.
All right.
So those people are in. Okay, keep going.
On Twitch, from Jeff, who do you think is going to win CanHammer Team Tournament?
Fear check.
Team CanHammer.
Fear check.
I think it's going to be CanHammer Loaded Dice, and then right behind that is going to be CanHammer. That's my team.
I actually think Team America is in the running.
Team America's got some tech that a lot of people are not going to see coming. Depending on their pairings, they're going to be up at top table last round.
So a serious, because I'm just being cocky, so I get my points anyway on the internet. But I actually think it's between Loaded Dice, in real life, Loaded Dice, and Team America. That's my pick.
I don't think that's unfair.
50-50.
Look,
Team Fear Check, they're going to get last place.
Yeah.
They're not even a serious contender. Team CanHammer is lame, and they're just pathetic.
We are lame and pathetic, but we're also somewhat okay at 40k. I think the only thing that's
Well, your lists are counter meta, man. It's scary. Okay?
We are.
CanHammer has a shot.
Yeah.
Has a shot.
We're hoping to finish well, but I think you're right.
I'm just teasing.
It's gonna be loaded dice or Team USA up at the top. I think Team USA has a lot of tech that a lot of people are not going to see coming if they don't really dig into those lists.
I think there's at least 10 teams in the running.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's a hyper.
It could be any
competitive
one of those
event.
10 because it's actually going to be one of the most competitive majors in Canadian history.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Also, Jeff has asked me to read the rest of that comment. Sorry. Who will win CanHammer Team Tournament? In brackets, correct answer is not CanHammer. Even more correct answer is Team Sexyback.
Team Sexyback. If you win a game,
Who is that team? Anyway?
I'll be shocked.
That's a bunch of nobodies.
No,
That's what I thought.
Sexyback's decent. Sexyback's going to be
That's what I thought.
attention. I put them up there as well.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good event. I don't like speculating because, like, my team has a drunk Frenchman that's playing Imperial Knights and Riptides.
That's true. He will buy off his opponents with hugs and beer. It'll be perfect. Also, he's a good player. All right.
Max is really good. He's really good.
So, also from Jeff, predictions for 8th, I think we've talked about in the show.
Yep.
So, next one, Jeff, are Ynnari as big of a thing as they were made out to be when it first came out? So,
Yes,
I think you touched on this.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
We, s'il vous plaît. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. From somebody who isn't Jeff, from Lord Draconis in the chat.
Lord.
Is Robot Girly Man tournament worthy at the moment?
So actually, Jason Sparks' only loss was to Robot Girly Man because he came back and he murdered 2 Wraith Knights.
Was that in the Castellans list that's of questionable legality?
Maybe, but it was it still happened. He is tournament worthy. He's not.
If you have to get him into combat, I think.
Yeah, if you get him into combat, he'll kill anything.
He's also a
Unless he gets
force
stomped.
multiplier. He
A little
absorbs
bit.
firepower.
You have to play Ultramarines.
Yeah, but if you take him, you're playing Ultramarines.
Ultramarines aren't bad though. They're like the second tier out of Space Marines.
Second tier. You can take Tigurius with him. You can give him invisibility. He's got a 3-up invulnerable save. He just like even if like he dies, he's gonna take so much firepower, and then maybe come back that the rest of your army should be intact on objectives by turn 5. So
I'm kind of putting through lists with Gilliman, and you either think of a way to move him quickly into combat, or you find a way that he becomes like a target sink, basically. But the savvy player will just be like, okay, I can't kill him, so
ignore him or tar pit him. Really,
but then he's in the middle of the board, moving up. Oh, here, this is my objective. Hey.
Yeah, the problem is the 3 turns to get there, right? Like that's the thing. He's a tank. He will sit on an objective. He will deny a 13, 14-inch radius, but that is all he will do, other than his buffs from doctrines.
Yeah, or he'll kill Wraith Knights in combat. And I know that sounds but he dies, and then you got to chance it to go into his army, and then he comes back, and it's like, oh shoot. I think he's upper middle tier character.
Yeah, I mean he's not garbage.
Or top tier. Upper middle tier.
He's not garbage. I don't think we're going to see many of him, though. I think you have to be very specific in how you build a list with him.
He's no Magnus.
Yeah, he's no Magnus. All right. From Diogo, if 8th is like Age of Sigmar and someone wants to burn their army, what army do you think it will be? I think it'll be Eldar.
Chris is Eldar.
No comment.
All right. And our last question here from Dan, I'm a goddamn champion Platt. How long do you think the Sisters of Silence overload will last? Will it phase out once Psychic Stars are scared off? I think so. I think they're going to be a meta shift. They shut down a lot of stuff that's very, very good right now, Magnus List especially. And I think with that, unfortunately or fortunately, we're going to see a lot of other lists that have fallen down in the meta as a result shoot straight back up. As that stuff goes away, Tau is just going to get stupid again.
So from a question from a Magnus player, like, does he think it? Like, is he scared?
Yes. So Magnus, arguably,
Magnus is scared.
After CanHammer Team Tournament, Magnus is arguably should go back on the shelf for a little bit.
After the tournament, you think? After CHE?
Yeah, because well, in a ETC style team event, I can avoid the one sister player, the one Calexis player with my demon craziness.
Yep.
In a singles event, when you're talking, I talked to a lot of people at Adepticon who said they're buying 2 units of Sisters and 2 Rhinos, and that's it. And they're running it in every list because it's 4 units to score objectives, and it shuts down every Demon player, every Librarius Conclave, and every Death Star.
Yep. It's
already got
ridiculous
those
how good
models.
they are.
And I had
Don't blow
Logan
the Rhino
paint
up.
them.
The Sisters can hide behind the Rhino like nobody's business, man. Like, and the range is so crazy on it. A lot of people are touting 3 units. That's a little bit too many.
Yeah, I think
Too many
two
I think
is
the
the
sweet
magic
spot
number.
is 2 in Rhinos. Done.
Yeah, it's 240 points. Yeah, 240 points, and you've got 4 Calexis Assassins effectively. Like
It's a no-brainer.
It's yeah, exactly. It's a no-brainer at 1650 points. Okay, it's easy to fit. At 1500 points, maybe a little trickier. At 1850, there's no army that can't take it unless you run like some garbage like the Hellforge hunting pack.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, they'll probably they'll be good until those type of lists start to go down.
So
and
I think the Psychic Death Stars, the Psychic Insanity is going to be done this edition for single player.
yeah, for
because
sure. Like,
they're going
I
to come
think
in,
eight is
then the rules are going to be redone, and those Sisters might not do the same thing. So I
They
think
solve an
I
immediate
honestly
problem.
believe that they've countered their earlier releases and it's over. That's how I feel currently. Like, I don't think I want to run Princess and Magnus after CanHammer Team, which I'm not running there anyway, but
Yeah.
because it's just going to be rough, I think I
you
might
have
go
no
back
answer
to like a
to
spammy demon army.
Yeah.
Just spam the demons and then just hope they wasted points on Sisters of Silence, man. Go with the dogs and the screamers.
Yeah.
So we have 12 questions to win March's White Dwarf.
We have one more. One more. This is from Plastic Nick in the chat. Do you think the new dwarves are amazing?
Oh,
Like
that's
the
is that Nick
Caradron?
Allegre? Is that the?
I don't know which Nick that is, but his name is Plastic Nick. He's on the chat.
That's the Nick that went to Adepticon with me.
Oh, nice.
So I shouldn't have. Whatever. I gave you.
He means the Caradron overlords, I presume.
I think he does.
So Nick loves them. I love them.
I think they're very
amazing.
cool.
They're sexy. They're going to be awesome in game. I want to play them.
I want to
And
see
I
those
want-
transport rules.
I want
That's got
them
me
to play
excited.
with me.
I hate
Okay.
dwarves, so I would never buy that army, but yeah.
So
cool.
we have 13 people. I don't know how to randomly. Can you do a number between 13?
I
generator
can. Let
token?
me pull up random.org here.
I'm going to roll my
Because-
D13.
We've got 13 people, and the winning
So-
number is 4.
One.
Based on
two, three.
random.org, I did not arbitrarily choose that.
Ryan 1. So not Ryan Pippi, the other Ryan.
The other Ryan. All right. The other Ryan was on Facebook. I will reach out to him. Thank you
So
for
you
participating.
do another number if that Ryan does not want it. Well, who's the backup?
The backup is number 11.
Jeff.
Do 3. Do 3.
That's Jeff. I think he has a subscription.
All right.
Yeah, do 3.
All right. And the third backup is number 10.
So that would be Jamie.
All right. There we go. I think
Cool.
he also has
So
a
we're
we're
subscription.
going to contact
Do
Ryan
four,
first.
do
If he
four.
doesn't want it, then Jeff gets first dibs, and if not, Jamie.
All right. Excellent. Thanks for
So
joining
as
us,
for that,
guys.
thanks for joining us, guys. CanHammer.ca for more information. Check out our videos, podcasts, and all that good stuff. Thanks for asking questions. We will be giving White Dwarf giveaways on the podcast coming up, but you have to be in the Twitch chat next time. Facebook questions will not count. Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Good night.
Bye.